Chapter 48-94. When Lion attacked, Heaven Destroyer and the other top experts from the evil demons also attacked the 3 Silveridine corpses. However, there weren't many top experts on both sides. There were only a few people who were at the level of the strongest Lord of Heaven. The rest were at the level of the strongest Lord of Heaven. Although their divine weapons were covered with blue rocks, their combat strength was far inferior to the Silveridine corpses. In just one exchange, the experts from Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons were forced to retreat. They spat out blood and their faces were pale. There were even 2 top Lord of Heaven level experts who were almost killed by the Silveridine corpses' terrifying claws. Everyone's heart sank. The difference in combat strength was too great. The Silveridine corpses were blocked by the demonic chi light shield. Otherwise they wouldn't have been able to block it. When the Silveridine corpses broke through the demonic chi light shield, how could they block it? Roar, roar, roar. Boom, boom, boom. The Extremine corpses kept roaring as they attacked the demonic chi light shield. Finally, a crack appeared. The 3 Extremine corpses charged through the crack and appeared above everyone's heads. Their berserk auras covered the sky and pressed down on everyone. It was as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, making everyone feel an enormous pressure. Then, the 3 Extremine corpses attacked. Their sharp claws tore through the void and a terrifying force grabbed at everyone. Block it. Lion and the others roared as they rushed into the sky to block the attacks of the Extremine corpses. Their eyes were filled with determination. Without the demonic chi light shield, they knew that they wouldn't be able to block the 3 Silveridine corpses. In the end they would probably be killed. However, they had no choice. They couldn't run away. Swoosh. At this moment, a figure rushed into the sky from the ground and charged at one of the Silveridine corpses. With a loud boom, the Silveridine corpse was blocked. It was Gu Changfeng. Gu Changfeng retreated quickly. His face was pale and his blood was weak. It was obvious that he hadn't recovered from his injuries. The Silveridine corpse let out a furious roar and charged towards Gu Changfeng. Gu Changfeng held his divine weapon and fought with the Silveridine corpse. Although Gu Changfeng was injured, it was still possible for him to fend off the Silveridine corpse with the help of his blue firestone weapon. However, the others were in imminent danger. When the others faced the 2 Silveridine corpses, they were not a match at all. As soon as they exchanged blows, there were people who died, torn apart by the Silveridine corpses. Kill. A Silveridine corpse let out a loud roar and charged at Yin Kong. Its sharp claws swiped at Yin Kong's head. My life is over. Yin Kong sighed. With his strength, there was no suspense when facing a Silveridine corpse, and only death awaited him. At this moment in the sky, a black light filled with rich and powerful demonic chi flew towards the Silveridine corpse. With a bang, the Silveridine corpse was blocked. A figure appeared in the sky, exuding an aura as vast as the abyss. It was Zixian. At this moment, Zixian was in an unusual state. Her eyes were tightly shut, and black demonic chi surrounded her body like black ribbons. A terrifying aura gushed out from her body, but it was not very stable and kept fluctuating. The 2 Silveridine corpses turned to look at Zixian. With a roar, they pounced at Zixian with shocking speed. Zixian still had her eyes closed. As if it was her instinct, her palm formed a demonic blade that was more than 10 meters long. She stepped in the air and waved the demonic blade, fighting with the 2 Silveridine corpses. After a few exchanges, Zixian's figure retreated slightly. She was at a disadvantage. She had to maintain the demonic chi barrier to block the other Extremine corpses, so her battle strength was naturally not at its peak. However, if she did not maintain the demonic chi barrier, a large number of Extremine corpses would rush in, and many of the Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons would die. One had to know that there were more than 10 Extremine corpses that were comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven. The Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons would not be able to block them. In this way, Zixian was at a disadvantage against the 2 Silveridine corpses. The Silveridine corpses roared angrily and continued to attack Zixian. Outside the demonic chi barrier, there were more than 1,000 Extremine corpses. They attacked the demonic chi barrier crazily, putting Zixian under great pressure. Outside the Heron Ancient Mine, the Blue Sea race and the Eveline race heard the explosions coming from the mine. Such intense explosions. It seems like the battle is very intense. Perhaps the battle has entered its final stage. After this battle, the Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons will be destroyed. The Quasi-Saint race, the Heavenly Human race, the Heaven Destroyer, the evil demons, and the other low-level races will all be eliminated. After destroying these low-level races, We will destroy the Blue Sea race and the Primordial Light race. The Void Universe will belong to the Eveline race. A few Eveline race members discussed in secret. Similar discussions occurred within the Blue Sea race. Who is it? Suddenly, a top expert from the Baleful Een tribe shouted as he looked at the void behind him. This elite from the Evil Een race was equivalent to the Primordial Light race's Guangqin royal envoy. At the same time, there was also an expert of the same level from the Blue Sea clan who was looking at the sky. Whoosh! There was a flash of light in the void and a young figure appeared. This figure was naturally Lu Ming. After the Bone Demon flew with him for a while, Lu Ming refined the top-notch Origin Grade armor and let the Bone Demon enter the ancient Desolation Ring. He traveled alone and finally arrived at the Heron Ancient Mine. This person seems to be Lu Ming from the Heaven Destroyer. A Evil Een race member recognized Lu Ming. Lu Ming had become famous in the universe after the battle with the heavenly human race and had killed 3 of their strongest Lord of Heaven. Even the creatures in the Forbidden Lands knew of Lu Ming's reputation and had seen Lu Ming's portrait. That's right. It's Lu Ming. It's indeed him. The other creatures in the Forbidden Lands also recognized Lu Ming. Very good, very good. Let's send him and the rest of the Heaven Destroyer to hell. The top expert from the Evil Een clan sneered. In a flash, he dashed toward Lu Ming like a beam of dim light. Before he arrived, a terrifying sinister aura dashed toward Lu Ming, exuding an extremely cold and sinister aura. Lu Ming frowned and a terrifying murderous intent appeared in his eyes. As soon as he arrived, he heard a loud explosion in the Heron Ancient Mine. He couldn't help but worry. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted and the Battle God Spear appeared in his hand. He thrust it forward. The spear radiance was dazzling and destroyed the Evil Een chi. It continued to pierce toward the elite from the Evil Een race. Oh no! The top elite of the Baleful Een race paled in fright and disbelief appeared on his face. Lu Ming's attack power was beyond his imagination. It was terrifyingly strong. Chapter 4895. The spear radiance pierced through the Baleful Een chi of the Baleful Een tribe expert and blasted a large hole in his body. The Baleful Een tribe expert retreated rapidly, his body twisting like a ghost. Baleful Een chi filled the air and the large hole in his body was quickly mended. The Baleful Een tribe's body constitution was extremely special. It was between illusion and reality. It was as if it had no physical body but was pure Baleful Een chi. It was difficult for ordinary attacks to cause any harm to such a body constitution. However, Lu Ming's attack was no ordinary attack. It was too strong. No matter what kind of body constitution one had, it would destroy everything. Although the Baleful Een tribe expert was not dead, he was severely injured and his aura was weak. Kill? Lu Ming shouted coldly. He did not stop and chased after the Baleful Een tribe expert. The War God's spear was like a mountain range, pressing down on the Baleful Een tribe expert. The violent destructive energy completely drowned him. The Baleful Een expert let out a shrill scream as his body exploded. Both his body and soul were destroyed. His scream was filled with indignation. He had been careless and underestimated Lu Ming. Otherwise, with his strength and special body constitution, he would not have been killed by Lu Ming in 2 moves. Unfortunately, it was too late. There was no point in regretting. This person, the other Baleful Een tribe experts including the CC tribe felt a chill in their hearts. They could not help but retreat. How would they dare to stop Lu Ming? Lu Ming was not in the mood to continue attacking the Baleful Een tribe and CC tribe experts. He turned into a beam of light and rushed into the Heron Ancient Mine. When he disappeared, the Baleful Een tribe and CC tribe people were relieved. Lu Ming has terrifying combat strength. Indeed. Lord Baleful Een tribe must have been careless. However, it is still shocking that he could kill Lord Baleful Een tribe in 2 moves. Let's send a message to the other lords and ask them to come and kill this person. Some Baleful Een tribe people discussed and spread the news. The CC tribe people also thought that Lu Ming could not be left alive and had to be killed. Therefore they spread the news and asked more CC tribe experts to come. Lu Ming dashed into the Heron Ancient Mine and flew toward the direction of the booming sound at an extremely fast speed. Along the way he saw some mechanisms and arrays. However, they were all broken. He guessed that they were either destroyed by the exterminating heavenly army, the Ultimate Een Corpse, or the living creatures of the Forbidden Grounds. They no longer had much power. At this moment, the battle between the Heaven Destroyer and the Extreme Een tribe experts was. Gu Changfeng was severely injured and it was already his limit to hold back a Silver-Eyed Een Corpse. Furthermore, he was at a complete disadvantage and it was likely that he would not be able to defeat the Yin corpse after a while. Zixin was fighting two silver-eyed Yin corpses and had to use her demonic chi barrier to block a large number of extreme Yin corpses, so she was in an even more passive position. Finally, a silver-eyed Yin corpse clawed at Zixin and tore the baleful Yin chi on her body, leaving a few deep wounds on her body. Zixin kept her eyes closed. Her body trembled and her energy fluctuated. Even the baleful Yin chi around her shook violently as if it was about to collapse. Prepare for the battle. Lion roared and turned back to his original form. The Heaven Destroyer and the demons all took out their divine weapons and were ready to fight. Once the baleful Yin chi was destroyed, they would have to fight to the death. Everyone remember this. When the great battle erupts, try your best to charge outwards. If you can escape, do so. Don't worry about others. Do you understand? Tang Jian shouted. Many people looked sad. This was the most helpless decision, but it had to be done. The only way was to preserve the strength of the Heavenly Extermination Troop. If they could preserve as much strength as possible, the Heavenly Extermination Troop would be destroyed. The two silver-eyed Yin corpses continued to roar and pounced at Zixin. Zixin could only resist with all her might. If this continues, Zixin will be in great danger. He has not completely fused with the Devil Ancestor Blood Crystal, and has only partially fused with it. If this continues, all his efforts will be in vain, and he might even be devoured by the Devil Ancestor Blood Crystal. Yin Kong said with a solemn expression. The other Abyss Devils, especially the purple-eyed Abyss Devils, were even more worried. Look outside. Suddenly someone shouted. Many people looked outside the demonic chi light shield. In that direction, a large amount of blue light suddenly flew out and shot towards the extreme Yin corpses. Everyone could clearly see that the blue light was the blue rock they had used before. These blue rocks were polished into the shape of needles or shuttles. When they hit the extreme Yin corpses, they exploded and turned into blue flames that enveloped the extreme Yin corpses. Sizzling sounds could be heard. Following this, a figure charged over at an astonishing speed. Wherever he passed, spear lights flashed, and the extreme Yin corpses exploded one by one. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. Someone in the Heaven Destroyer exclaimed. Only him. Some people in the Heaven Destroyer felt their hearts sink. What was the use of Lu Ming coming alone? Wasn't he just sending himself to his death? Lu Ming, leave quickly. Some of the extreme Yin corpses are terrifying. You can't deal with them. Yin Kong roared. He knew the name extreme Yin corpses from the Abyss Devils. Some of the Abyss Devils' ancient books had records of extreme Yin corpses. Lu Ming was strong, comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven, but it was useless in this situation. Among the extreme Yin corpses, there were at least a dozen existences comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven. Not to mention there were also existences like the silver-eyed Yin corpses. Lu Ming was no match for them. He was just sending himself to his death. With Lu Ming's talent, it would be a pity if he died here. To be honest, Lu Ming's value alone was worth thousands. The others also shouted for Lu Ming to leave. But it was already too late. There were at least 4 or 5 extreme Yin corpses comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven charging towards Lu Ming. It's too late. Yin Kong, Tang Jian, and the others had pale faces as they sighed. But in the next moment, their eyes widened. They saw Lu Ming advancing instead of retreating. The War God's spear vibrated and sent out 5 spear lights, each aimed at 5 extreme Yin corpses comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven. The spear lights were unstoppable. The 5 extreme Yin corpses comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven couldn't even withstand a single blow. Their bodies were directly pierced through, creating a large hole. The blue firestone flames on the tip of the spear spread out from the extreme Yin corpses' wounds and enveloped them. In one move, 5 extreme Yin corpses comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven were heavily injured. Yin Kong, Tang Jian, and the others didn't even have time to be shocked before Lu Ming continued to attack. Another 5 spear lights were sent out. This time, the bodies of the 5 extreme Yin corpses that were comparable to the strongest Heavenly Lord realm exploded into pieces. They had completely died. Chapter 4896. Within the demonic chi light shield, everyone from the Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons opened their mouths wide in shock. In just 2 moves, 5 existences that were comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven were killed. What kind of combat power was this? They were very clear about how strong these extreme Yin corpses were. Although they were comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven, they were actually much more difficult to deal with than the strongest Lord of Heaven. Their offensive power was comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven, but their vitality and defensive power far surpassed the strongest Lord of Heaven. An ordinary strongest Lord of Heaven had no chance of winning against these extreme corpses. However, Lu Ming had killed 5 extreme corpses in 2 moves. Although they could see that Lu Ming's divine weapon was also covered with the blue rock, although the blue rock could restrain the extreme corpses, the effect was not that heaven-defying. There was only one possibility, and that was that Lu Ming's combat power was too strong. Could it be that Lu Ming had made great progress during this period of time? Zixian, let me in. At this moment, Lu Ming arrived outside the demonic Qi light shield, and his voice was transmitted into the demonic Qi light shield. When Lu Ming's voice fell, the demonic Qi light shield rippled and a gap appeared. Although Zixian's eyes were tightly shut, she was still conscious. Lu Ming's figure moved, and he charged into the demonic Qi light shield. Without the time to greet Lion, Tang Jian and the others, Lu Ming charged in Zixian's direction. Sky-splitting style. Lu Ming became one with his spear, and he turned into a spear light, piercing through the void. With shocking speed, he stabbed at a silver-eyed corpse. The silver-eyed corpse roared, and it waved its sharp claws at Lu Ming. With a clang, the spear light collided with the silver-eyed corpse's claws. Then the silver-eyed corpse's claws shattered, and the spear light pierced through its palm. The silver-eyed corpse retreated and Lu Ming quickly followed up. His spear was like a dragon as he launched a barrage of attacks. Currently, Lu Ming's combat strength was already far above the silver-eyed corpse. In addition, he had the blue firestone to restrain the silver-eyed corpse. A single silver-eyed corpse would not be able to withstand Lu Ming's attacks. In just a few moves, the silver-eyed corpse's body was pierced through by the war god's spear. After a few more moves, the silver-eyed corpse's body was torn apart and it died on the spot. After killing this silver-eyed corpse, Lu Ming turned around and charged towards the silver-eyed corpse that Gu Changfeng was fighting against. Because Gu Changfeng was in an even worse situation. Because Zixian had lost a silver-eyed corpse, the pressure on her was greatly reduced and she was able to stabilize the situation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spear radiance was like a dragon and the attacks were fierce. The silver-eyed corpse that was fighting with Gu Changfeng was killed by Lu Ming in a few moves. At this moment, everyone present was shocked beyond words. They were all shocked by Lu Ming's combat strength. Such a terrifying silver-eyed corpse could not withstand a few moves from Lu Ming. What kind of combat strength did Lu Ming have? Was he still in the Divine Master Realm? How could a Divine Master Realm's combat strength reach such a level? This was simply an origin source. Even Gu Changfeng was shocked beyond words. Even if it is a forbidden body, there are not many people who can reach such a level of combat strength in the Divine Master Realm. Moreover, Lu Ming is only in the 9th level of the Divine Master Realm. If his combat strength reaches the peak of the Divine Master Realm, how powerful would he be? Can a forbidden body reach such a level? The 2 most outstanding forbidden bodies in the ancient times, the life spirits of the Heavenly Court and the life spirits of the Great Ancient Divine Court, did not have such combat strength when fighting at the same level, right? Gu Changfeng thought to himself. Then he took out a few divine elixirs and swallowed them. Lu Ming did not stop and charged towards the last silver-eyed corpse. The silver-eyed corpse's intelligence was very high. When it saw Lu Ming kill 2 beings of the same level as it knew that it was no match for Lu Ming. When it saw Lu Ming charging towards it turned around and tried to escape. However, Zixian would not let it escape. She used all her strength to restrain the silver-eyed corpse. At the same time, Lu Ming rushed over and cut off the silver-eyed corpse's escape route. With Lu Ming and Zixian working together, the silver-eyed corpse's fate was sealed. In just a few moves it was completely killed. Roar, roar, roar. Outside the demonic Qi light shield, the extreme corpses did not have much intelligence and were still attacking. Lu Ming waved his hand and Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Bone Demon and the others appeared. Let's attack together and destroy these extreme corpses. Lu Ming's voice rang out as he charged towards the outside of the demonic Qi light shield. Then Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon and the others followed Lu Ming and charged out, throwing out blue firestones. Kill. Then the Heaven Destroyer and the evil demon experts roared and charged out as well. The 3 silver-eyed corpses had been killed and there were not many extreme corpses left that were comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven. Their strength had dropped drastically. On the other side there were experts like Lu Ming, Zixian and Gu Changfeng. They were completely unstoppable and a large number of extremine corpses were killed. Not long after, the thousands of extremine corpses were almost all killed. At this moment, Gu Changfeng sat cross-legged on the ground and started to heal himself. Zixian was in a similar situation. She landed on the ground and closed her eyes. The demonic qi on her body fluctuated and was very unstable. Zixian's situation is not looking good. Brother Lu, do you have any way to help her? Yin Kong came to Lu Ming's side and sighed. I don't know much about this. Guamo, do you have any ideas? Lu Ming turned to ask Guamo. Guamo was the ancestor of the demonic path and he must have a way. Unexpectedly, Guamo shook his head. The origin of the demonic ancestor blood crystal is frighteningly ancient. I don't know much about it, but I can feel that the demonic ancestor blood crystal's energy is frighteningly strong. Merging with it is harder than ascending to the heavens. Outsiders can't interfere at all. Only Zixian can rely on herself. Guamo said. Hearing Gumo's words, the evil demon's faces turned solemn. It seemed that Zixian could only rely on her own luck. Lu Ming, how did you find this place? Tang Jian asked. I heard from Yi Immortal. Lu Ming said. He guessed that Yi Immortal must have been active in this area before and knew that Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons were trapped here. However, Yi Immortal told Lu Ming that he didn't have good intentions. He probably wanted to use the Tsangming tribe and the Baleful Yin tribe to deal with Lu Ming. He knew that Lu Ming must have come here to save the people of Heaven Destroyer. This would definitely make him face the Tsangming tribe and the Baleful Yin tribe. It could be said that this was an open conspiracy. Lu Ming knew this, but he had no choice but to come. Yi Immortal? This guy doesn't have good intentions, Tang Jian muttered. Tang Jian muttered. Naturally, they could guess Yi Wuxia's intentions. By the way, how did you guys get here? Why are you trapped here? Lu Ming asked. It's like this. Tang Jian briefly recounted their experiences during this period of time. The Tsangming tribe and the Baleful Yin tribe? A wisp of killing intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He said, we have to leave this place quickly. The Baleful Yin tribe and the Tsangming tribe are guarding outside. They must have sent messages to the others. Chapter 4897. What about Zixian? Yin Kong asked. Take her away and put her into my chaos ring. Afterward, he sent a voice transmission to Zixian, asking her to cooperate. He then put Zixian into the chaos ring. Senior Gu Changfeng, you should heal in the chaos ring too. Lu Ming looked at Gu Changfeng. Lu Ming, did you comprehend the 3000th ancient secret skill? Gu Changfeng stared at Lu Ming with bright eyes. That's right. Senior, you are wise. Lu Ming nodded and did not hide anything. Hearing Lu Ming's words, Gu Changfeng was shocked and said, you really comprehended the 3000th ancient secret skill. This is unbelievable and unprecedented. Senior, you are flattering me. Didn't the Lord of the Ancient Divine Court comprehend the 3000th ancient secret skill long ago? Lu Ming said. That's just a rumor. Gu Changfeng shook his head and smiled. He then said to Lu Ming through voice transmission, to tell you the truth, I once heard from a senior who survived the ancient divine courts that the Lord of the ancient divine courts did not comprehend 3000 ancient secret skills. In fact, he only comprehended 2999. Lu Ming was shocked and replied, how is that possible? Didn't they say that the ancient divine court had the 3000th ancient secret skill? Have you seen anyone who has gathered the 3000th ancient secret skill? Gu Changfeng asked. Lu Ming was stunned and did not know how to answer. Yes, it had always been a rumor that the ancient divine court had the 3000th ancient secret skill, but no one had ever gathered them all. It was said that after the Lord of the ancient divine court died, no one had gathered the 3000th ancient secret skill. So it's just a rumor. In fact, there are only 2999 grand ancient secret arts in the grand ancient divine court. The 3000th grand ancient secret art has always been a conjecture of the grand ancient divine court's leader, but he didn't manage to comprehend it. I didn't expect you to be able to comprehend the 3000th grand ancient secret art. So you're unprecedented. I can feel that your forbidden energy has become even more terrifying. Gu Changfeng said. Not bad. Lu Ming did not hide anything. You're an eternal genius. Of all my previous taboo physiques, you're probably the most accomplished. You've walked the path that the Lord of the archaic divine court couldn't walk. However, I've heard that the taboo sword ancestor, Tang Feng, seems to have walked on another path. It seems to be unprecedented. I truly wish to have the opportunity to meet him. Gu Changfeng said. In terms of age, Gu Changfeng was Tang Feng's senior. However, when Tang Feng was born, Gu Changfeng was already in a deep sleep and the two of them had never met. After talking with Gu Changfeng, Lu Ming felt a surge of emotions. It turned out that he had unintentionally walked on a path that had never been seen before. He had originally thought that the Lord of the Archaic Divine Court had also comprehended 3,000 ancient secret skills. Who would have thought that the Master of the Primordial Divine Court would fail, and would instead be stuck at 2,999? Fortunately, there was this rumor that Lu Ming had succeeded. If he had known earlier that the Lord of the Archaic Divine Court had failed, he might not have succeeded either. Because he had always thought that the Lord of the Archaic Divine Court had comprehended 3,000 ancient secret skills. He thought that since others had succeeded, it meant that this path was feasible and that he could succeed too. Therefore he had been persevering and did not give up. If he had known earlier that the Lord of the Archaic Divine Court had failed, he would have been discouraged and thought that this path was not feasible. He might have failed. Things were really unpredictable. After that, Lu Ming also put Gu Changfeng into the Chaos Ring. It was not only Gu Changfeng. Next, Lu Ming got everyone to enter the Ancient Desolation Ring. There were most likely creatures guarding outside the Heron Ancient Mine. It would be a burden to bring a large group of people with him. It was safer and more convenient for him to move alone. After putting everyone into the Chaos Ring, Lu Ming's figure flashed and he dashed out of the Heron Ancient Mine. Soon Lu Ming arrived outside the Heron Ancient Mine. As soon as he arrived outside the Heron Ancient Mine, Lu Ming felt many cold gazes landing on him. Their gazes were filled with murderous intent and they were like sharp blades cutting his skin. These were naturally creatures of the Forbidden Land. There were hundreds of them from the Tsangming tribe and the Baleful Yin tribe, which was several times more than when Lu Ming had entered previously. There were more people from the Baleful Yin tribe and the Tsangming tribe. They came so quickly. Lu Ming's face darkened slightly. It had only been a short while since he had gone in to help, but the number of people from the Baleful Yin tribe and the Tsangming tribe had increased by several times. It seemed that there were experts from the two tribes in the area. Lu Ming, how dare you kill an expert from the Baleful Yin tribe? You are courting death. Set up the formation and summon the Baleful Yin Ghost King. Tear him apart. A middle-aged man from the Baleful Yin tribe spoke. His body was constantly twisting and turning like a ghost. This middle-aged man had arrived later. Before entering, Lu Ming had not seen him before. However, the aura he gave off was extremely terrifying. He was probably a top expert. Swoosh, 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 a total of 15 experts from the Baleful Yin tribe rushed out. They all had treasures that looked like skulls. These skulls were the size of an adult's fist and were covered with runes. These skulls were the carriers of the combined attack formation. The runes spread and the 15 skulls shone. They intertwined with each other and then formed a huge figure. This figure gave off a terrifying Baleful Yin chi. It was the Baleful Yin Ghost King that the Baleful Yin tribe had mentioned. This was the Baleful Yin Ghost King formed by the combined attack formation of 15 people. It was extremely powerful. The Baleful Yin Ghost King roared and pounced towards Lu Ming. At the same time, the Tsangming tribe also attacked. The Tsangming tribe also used a combined attack formation. However, it was not a combined attack formation of 15 people, but in combined attack formation of 18 people. The combined attack formation of 18 people formed a flying fish. This flying fish had 2 wings. With a flap of its wings, it shot towards Lu Ming like an arrow released from a bow. The 2 combined attack formations attacked Lu Ming from the left and right. Following closely behind the 2 combined attack formations, 2 figures also charged towards Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. One was the middle-aged man from the Baleful Yin tribe, and the other was a top expert from the Tsangming tribe. These 2 people were comparable to the Guangqin royal envoy. They knew that Lu Ming was very strong. Therefore they used their strongest combat power from the get-go. Their coordination was flawless. The 2 terrifying combined attack arrays and the 2 experts who were comparable to the king of Guangqin formed a killing move. They wanted to kill Lu Ming. In the face of such an attack, the Guangqin royal envoy would definitely be killed in an instant. Even if they were stronger than the Guangqin royal envoy, they would still be severely injured. However, Lu Ming's strength was not just a little stronger than the Guangqin royal envoys. What's more, he was in control of a top-tier soul-grade armor. Chapter 4898. On the way to the Heron Ancient Mine, Lu Ming had already refined a top-notch source-level divine weapon armor. At this moment, Lu Ming's heart stirred and a black armor appeared, shrouding Lu Ming within it. It covered him tightly and he looked just like a god of war. Swoosh. The sky-breaking form was unleashed and turned into a sharp spear radiance that shot toward the sinister Shade Ghost King. The sinister Shade Ghost King roared and slashed at Lu Ming with a Ghost King blade. When the blade collided with the spear radiance, there was an earth-shattering explosion. In the next moment, the Ghost King blade vibrated violently and dense runes appeared on its surface. The sinister Shade Ghost King was also forced to retreat. The sinister Shade Ghost King was formed by a 15-man combined formation. The 15 people who had set up the formation were all peak almighty experts. Compared to the 9-man combined formation of the Yuanguang tribe, it was naturally much stronger. However, compared to the 21-man combined formation of the Yuanguang tribe, it was still much weaker. Its offensive power was slightly stronger than that of the Guangqin royal envoy, so it was naturally no match for Lu Ming. Just as Lu Ming forced the sinister Shade Ghost King to retreat, the 18-man combined formation of the Blue Sea tribe and the 2 top experts from the Blue Sea tribe and the Sinister Yin tribe arrived. 3 terrifying attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming ignored the 3 attacks. He gathered all his strength and continued to unleash the sky-breaking form to attack the sinister Shade Ghost King. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 terrifying attacks landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body only vibrated a few times before he blocked the 3 attacks. It is indeed a top-notch source-level divine weapon armor. Its defensive power is very strong. The vibrations that passed through the armor were not much. I can completely block them. Lu Ming's confidence was greatly boosted as this thought flashed across his mind. The top-grade source-grade battle armor didn't disappoint Lu Ming at all. Its defensive power was too strong. Those 3 terrifying attacks had been completely blocked. Even if there was some vibrating force through the armor, it wasn't strong. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he could completely withstand it. Only someone with the same attack power as Lu Ming would be able to penetrate the armor and cause a certain amount of damage to Lu Ming. These people were obviously not good enough. Boom. Lu Ming's offensive was not affected much. He exchanged a second blow with the Baleful Yin Ghost King. This time, the Baleful Yin Ghost King's saber exploded. The spear light pierced a hole through the Baleful Yin Ghost King's body. In reality, it had pierced through the body of a Baleful Yin expert. The destructive power exploded, and the Baleful Yin expert's body was torn into pieces. He died on the spot. With 1 person killed, the formation instantly became unstable and its light dimmed. It almost couldn't maintain the form of the Baleful Yin Ghost King. Primitive style. Lu Ming struck out with his palm and used the primitive style. A piece of land formed above the Baleful Yin Ghost King's head. This piece of land wasn't large. It was only 100 meters in radius. The smaller the area, the stronger the attack power of the primitive style. The piece of land with a radius of 100 meters suppressed the Baleful Yin Ghost King's head. A terrifying power exploded, and the Baleful Yin Ghost King exploded. The remaining 14 people who had set up the formation were all shocked to death. Yes, the 14 people who had set up the formation were all shocked to death by the primitive style. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Only 15 skulls were left floating in the air. At this time, another 3 attacks landed on Lu Ming. However, they didn't cause much damage to Lu Ming. Kill? Lu Ming roared and the war god's spear swept out. The first to bear the brunt of the attack was the top expert from the Blue Sea tribe who was comparable to the Guangqin royal envoy. This top expert from the Blue Sea tribe was the closest to Lu Ming. He was directly hit by the war god's spear. His body flew out like a cannonball and smashed through a mountain. Let's go. The top expert from the Baleful Yin tribe was scared out of his wits. His face was pale. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. He was frightened. He couldn't help but think of the top expert from the Baleful Yin tribe who had been killed by Lu Ming. That expert was at the same level as him. If he could be killed by Lu Ming, what about him? Therefore he fled without hesitation. The speed of the Baleful Yin tribe was extremely fast, comparable to that of the Primordial Light tribe. Like a ghost, he disappeared into the distance in a few flashes. The other members of the Baleful Yin tribe didn't dare to stay. They followed closely behind the top expert and fled into the distance. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He didn't chase after them. Instead, his body flashed and he charged toward the top expert from the Blue Sea tribe. Ah, damn it! The top expert from the Blue Sea tribe was shocked. When he saw the top expert from the Baleful Yin tribe escape, he was furious. However, the most important thing now was to stop Lu Ming. Come and help me. The top expert from the Blue Sea tribe shouted. At the same time, he unleashed his full strength. He opened his mouth and a long river appeared. The long river was filled with this kind of water. It was extremely cold. This kind of cold was different from ordinary cold. Not only was it cold, but it was also filled with yin qi. It was like the qi of the 9 underworlds. The river surged and swept toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the 18 people's joint attack formation also charged toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming ignored the attack of the formation. Open. Lu Ming bellowed. The taboo power surged into the war god spear wildly. The war god spear rapidly grew in size. It was like an incomparably huge mountain range, pressing forward and lashing out at the cold and gloomy river. What? The river splashed in all directions. It was directly split open by the war god's spear. The powerful force hit the top expert from the Blue Sea tribe and sent him flying. His body trembled and his face turned pale. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. At the same time, the 18 people's joint attack formation hit Lu Ming again. Lu Ming's body staggered slightly, but he managed to block the attack. To be honest, the joint attack formation of the 18 people from the Blue Sea tribe was very powerful. It was only slightly weaker than the joint attack formation of the 21 people from the Primordial Light tribe. Lu Ming wouldn't have dared to let it hit him if he didn't have the top-notch source-grade divine weapon battle armor. In fact, even with the top-notch source-grade divine weapon battle armor, a powerful force could still pass through and hit Lu Ming. However, this force couldn't cause serious injuries to Lu Ming immediately. It could only cause light injuries. Given Lu Ming's vitality and recovery ability, he could recover quickly. Of course, this was only one such formation. Lu Ming could ignore it. If there were 8 or 10 of such formations, Lu Ming wouldn't dare to be so careless. Continuous light injuries could also accumulate into serious injuries. I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he stared at the top expert from the Blue Sea tribe. If he wanted to fight, he had to focus on one person. Boom. The desolation style was executed. A continent formed above the top of the Blue Sea tribe's expert and pressed down on him. The top expert from the Blue Sea tribe roared and used all his strength to resist. However, it was useless. When the continent pressed down, the Blue Sea tribe's expert's attacks kept collapsing. In the end, the continent pressed down on his body. Bam! The man's body was torn to pieces. Chapter 4899. This top expert of the Blue Sea race was crushed by Lu Ming's desolate style. His body was torn apart and his soul was also destroyed by the violent destructive power. Another terrifying expert was killed by Lu Ming. The remaining Blue Sea race members were terrified. Go! Retreat first. The Blue Sea race members, including the 18 people in the formation, fled into the distance. You want to leave now? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He stepped forward and chased after the Blue Sea race like a stream of light. In an instant he caught up with the 18 people in the formation. Boom! Lu Ming struck with his palm and used the primeval style. A large piece of land blasted toward the 18 people's combined attack array. The 18 people of the Blue Sea race formed a giant fish with 2 wings. The fish's head was as thin as a sword and its body was surrounded by cold water. Seeing that they couldn't escape, the 18 people's formation could only take it head-on. But the result was that the giant fish was forced to retreat. In a head-on battle with Lu Ming, the combined attack of the 18 of them was still lacking. Moreover, Lu Ming now had a top-notch source-level divine weapon armor. When he fought with others, he could use more of his energy to attack. He did not need to consider defense. His combat power would undoubtedly be stronger. Yi Immortal used this advantage and was usually stronger in a battle of the same level. After gaining the upper hand in one move, Lu Ming didn't stop attacking. He attacked continuously and his opponent couldn't resist at all. After a few moves, Lu Ming's spear broke through the opponent's defense and killed one of the Blue Sea race members in the formation. The remaining 17 Blue Sea race members in the formation were really panicking. Lu Ming, are you really going to kill us all? You're becoming a mortal enemy of the Blue Sea race. Can you stop our revenge? A Blue Sea race member roared. Aren't we mortal enemies now? Lu Ming sneered. He had finally seen through the life forms of the Forbidden Grounds. Even if you were to avoid them, they would still take the initiative to come and kill you. Therefore, the only way was to counterattack and kill until the other party was afraid or even flatten the other party. Only then would they be able to eliminate all future troubles. Dealing with these creatures of the Forbidden Lands, Lu Ming would not show mercy at all. Whoosh! The sky-breaking style erupted and turned into a dazzling spear light. This time, the spear light directly pierced through the 2-winged giant fish. When the giant fish exploded, 7 out of the 17 people who had set up the formation were instantly killed by the spear light. The remaining 10 people were also injured. They ignored their injuries and fled in all directions. Spread out and spread the news to Lord Songluo. During this period of time, we brought back a large amount of resources from the Tsangming Sea. Soon, more cultivators will awaken and come to the Purple Heaven Cave. At that time, those cultivators will avenge us. Several Blue Sea race members roared loudly. Their figures didn't stop as they fled with all their might. Lu Ming went all out to kill them. In the end, another 6 people were killed by Lu Ming. A few people still managed to escape. There were many people from the Blue Sea race. In addition to those who had set up the formation, there were also those who didn't. They had already escaped. Seeing that he couldn't catch up, Lu Ming didn't stay. His figure flashed and he left the place. A day later, in a relatively quiet and hidden place, Lu Ming appeared and released the people from the Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons. Seeing that they were safe, they naturally thanked Lu Ming profusely. In particular, Lion, Tang Jian, and the others were even more amazed by Lu Ming's strength. At the same time, they were also very ashamed. Not long after they entered the Purple Heaven Cave, they were chased by the Extreme Een Corpse. Later, when they finally got rid of the Extreme Een Corpse, they encountered the creatures of the Forbidden Lands. Therefore, during this period of time, it could be said that they had accomplished nothing. On the other hand, Lu Ming's combat strength had skyrocketed, forming a sharp contrast. By the way, Senior Lion, Senior Tang, do you recognize the words of the last era? Lu Ming asked. I know a little. Lion nodded. That's great. We previously obtained some scrolls from the Purple Heaven Cave. They were recorded in the words of the last era. We can't understand them at all. Please take a look, Senior. Lu Ming said. Scrolls from the Purple Heaven Cave. Lion's eyes lit up. Not only him, but the others around him also revealed a look of joy and anticipation when they heard it. If these scrolls recorded some mysterious chi refinement skills from the last era, or even profound refining skills and alchemy skills, they would be invaluable. Lu Ming waved his hand and a large number of scrolls appeared. Lion picked up a scroll, opened it expectantly and read it carefully. Not long after, Lion revealed an excited look and said, recorded in this scroll is a profound refining skill that can refine source-level divine weapons. If this is given to our blacksmith masters, their refining skills will definitely increase greatly, and the success rate of refining source-level divine weapons will also increase by a lot. It's actually a profound refining skill. This is simply a priceless treasure. Tang Jian was also excited. This kind of refining method was too valuable for a certain force. The various factions in the universe such as the Heaven Destroyer, the Heavenly Human Tribe, and the demons, although there were blacksmiths who could refine source-level divine weapons, the success rate was very low. One could imagine the speed at which source-level divine weapons were produced. The supply was far from meeting the demand. If they could increase the success rate of refining source-level divine weapons, it would be crucial for the development of a faction. However, although I can understand it, it's still very complicated to translate it. It will take a long time. Lion said. It doesn't matter. Let's see what's in these scrolls first. When we bring them out, we can slowly translate them. Lu Ming said. Then Lion picked up the second scroll and began to read it. This scroll was a profound crafting technique. Moreover, it was an offensive technique called the Tai Heavenly Imperial Palm. Once mastered, it was extremely powerful and was even more powerful than an ancient secret technique. Of course, the value of this chi refinement technique could not be compared to the previous refining skill. After all, this type of offensive chi refinement technique was generally only suitable for beings below the origin realm to cultivate. This was because after reaching the origin realm, one could only comprehend Genesis arts according to one's own origin power. The power of Genesis arts was generally far above that of ancient secret techniques or offensive chi refinement techniques. Lion then picked up the third scroll and read it. This is in source level array. Lion suddenly exclaimed, revealing the array's expression. What? In source level array? The first to react was Dandan. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Lion, staring at him with fiery eyes. It's in source level array. The others also became excited and their eyes lit up. Yes, it's in source level array and a defensive one. Lion nodded solemnly. And source level array was not to be underestimated. In the past, the Heavenly Human Tribe and the demons did not know about it, but Heaven Destroyer lacked source level arrays. Therefore, the arrays in Heaven Destroyer's base were not very powerful. Chapter 4900. Is it a complete source level formation? Tang Jian hurriedly asked. The Heaven Destroyer had been excavating the ruins of the universe for so many years, but it had never found a complete source level formation. A complete source-level formation would be incredibly powerful once it was laid down. If the Heaven Destroyer's base had a complete source-level formation, they would not have to fear the celestial race's attack. If they could control a complete source-level formation, once the origin tribulation was over and the Heaven Destroyer's origin awakened, the overall strength of the Heaven Destroyer would definitely increase. That's right. It's a complete source-level formation. Lion solemnly nodded. Many people's breathing became ragged. Can you translate it for me? Dandan stared at Lion with sparkling eyes. It might take some time to translate it. After all, a formation involves a lot of information, Lion said with some difficulty. Dandan, don't worry. What's supposed to be given to you will be given to you sooner or later. You can't run away. Moreover, your cultivation is only at the 9th level of the Godlord realm. Even if I give it to you, you won't be able to lay it down. Didn't you also obtain a complete source-level formation in the Myriad Transformations ruins? Lu Ming patted Dandan on the shoulder. Dandan awkwardly smiled and took a few steps back. Laying down a source-level formation was not that easy. The requirements were extremely stringent. Generally speaking, one needed to be at the Origin Realm to lay down a formation. This was because Origin Realm existences controlled Origin energy. Source-level formations required Origin energy to be laid down and activated. At the very least, one needed to be a Peak Godlord to lay down a formation. But generally speaking, Peak Godlords would find it very difficult to succeed. Although Peak Godlords had already condensed their Origin seeds and contained Origin energy, Peak Godlords had far too little Origin energy. It was not enough to lay down a source-level formation. Of course, it was not impossible to use some special treasures or techniques. But Dandan was only at the 9th level of the Godlord realm. That was simply impossible. Lion continued to look through the other scrolls. The remaining scrolls were all very valuable. For example, there were all kinds of chi cultivation techniques, artifact refining techniques, alchemy methods, and some other source-grade formations. There was even a method to refine a combination array formation carrier. Although it was only a method to refine a 9-person combination array formation carrier, its value was still immeasurable. Once they brought it back, as long as they gathered enough materials, wouldn't the Heaven Destroyer be able to continuously refine the carriers of the joint attack formation? Of course, the success rate of the joint attack formation carrier was extremely low, but it was better than nothing. There were also some scrolls that were maps of the Purple Heaven Cave. They were exactly the same as the one that Lu Ming had translated for Zhang Qiong. Lu Ming, what do you plan to do next? Lion asked Lu Ming after reading all the scrolls. To the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom. Lu Ming waved his hand and the map lit up, forming a huge map in the air. Their current location was in the northeast direction of the map. Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom. Everyone looked at the center of the map. Previously, Lion had translated the words on the map in front of everyone. Therefore, everyone could understand the map. They could see that there was a huge sea in the middle of the map. This sea was surrounded by continents. There was an island in the center of the sea. This island was the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom. This was also the true core of the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom. Back then, the Immortal of the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom was overseeing this place. There was no doubt that the most precious treasures of the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom were hidden here. They didn't know before, but after seeing the map, how could they not go? Everyone else also showed signs of interest. They didn't need to guess to know that the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom contained amazing treasures. This was the place where the Immortal was overseen. What was the Immortal? He was a transcendent, an eternal existence that transcended the universe. Even a strand of hair left behind by the Immortal was a priceless treasure. The Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom is the true core of the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom. I believe that the heavenly human race, the quasi-sage race, and even the creatures of the Forbidden Lands will definitely go there after knowing about it. That place will become a chaotic and dangerous place. If you don't have enough strength, you will only be courting death. Lion's voice sounded in everyone's ears. Many people's hearts sank and the light in their eyes faded. Yes, how could the heavenly human race, the quasi-sage race, and the creatures of the Forbidden Lands miss the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom? Especially those creatures of the Forbidden Lands. Once they knew about it, they would definitely not miss it. That area would be very dangerous. They knew very well how strong the creatures of the Forbidden Lands were. If they went, not only would they not get any treasures, but they would also be courting death. I won't restrict your choice. If you want to go, you can go. If you don't want to go, you can stay in the outer continents and look for treasures. There are countless treasures in the outer continents. Lion said. I'm not going. I'll stay. Many people spoke one after another. Apart from Lu Ming and the others, almost no one else went. As the leaders of the Heaven Destroyer and the evil demons Lion, Tang Jian Yin Kong, and the others naturally had to stay and advance and retreat with everyone. Although Gu Changfeng wanted to go, his body was injured and it was inconvenient for him to move. He planned to focus on healing his injuries. If he still had time after his injuries were healed, he would rush over to take a look. In the end, the decision was made. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Qiu, Bone Demon, Wan Shen, and Tang Jun would go to the Violet Firmament Immortal Kingdom in a group of 10. The others would continue to stay in the outer continents to look for treasures. I have a good place to go. There are opportunities there. It's right here. On a mountain peak here there are 4 statues. They are incomparably mysterious and can help people comprehend secret techniques. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he pointed at a corner of the map. The place he was talking about was the Qi Vein where Lu Ming and the others had competed for treasures with the primordial light race and the heavenly human race. There were 4 statues there. Lu Ming and the others had obtained great benefits there. Lu Ming had comprehended the 3000th ancient secret technique there, which had greatly increased his battle strength. Without those statues, Lu Ming didn't know if he could comprehend the 3000th ancient secret technique. Even if he could, who knew how long it would take? If everyone in the Heaven Destroyer comprehended their strength would definitely improve greatly. Especially the top figures such as Gu Changfeng, Lion, and Tang Jian. Their gains would definitely be shocking. There's actually such a mysterious place. Lion, Tang Jian, and the others' eyes lit up when they heard Lu Ming's introduction. However, there might still be people from the primordial light race, the quasi-sage race, and the heavenly human race in that place. We have to be extremely careful. Lu Ming reminded them. Don't worry, we won't act rashly. We will find a secret place to hide first. It won't be too late for us to go after the primordial light race, the heavenly human race, and the quasi-sage race have left. They can't possibly stay there forever. Lion said. End of chapter. It seemed like he would be disappointed if he wanted to obtain any source-grade divine herbs here. However, since they were already here, they naturally couldn't come here for nothing. They had to properly explore this place. Lu Ming continued to step forward and flew towards the island. This island was very large, like a continent. Lu Ming stood in the air and carefully observed. The island was completely barren. There were no plants at all. He could even see that there were many large pits and sword marks on the island. It was obvious that these were the traces left behind by a great battle. Even after countless years, they still hadn't completely disappeared. Lu Ming waved his hand and let Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Dandan, and the others come out of the chaos ring. Xian Yanqing, Dandan, Bubbles, and the others all had their own unique methods. Lu Ming needed everyone's opinion. Dandan, do you feel any fluctuations of a formation? Lu Ming asked Dandan. Yes, there are fluctuations of a formation in the center of this island, and it's very, very terrifying. Dandan pointed to the front with a solemn face. Lu Ming and the others' faces also sank. It was the first time that Dandan used the word very consecutively and with such a solemn face. Can we go and take a look? Lu Ming asked Dandan. There shouldn't be any problems if we look from afar. Dandan nodded. They immediately set off. Not long after, a huge ancient city appeared in front of them. This ancient city was incomparably grand and took up an astonishing amount of space. However, there were layers of purple gold light that enveloped the ancient city, making it difficult to see the situation inside. This is the heavenly paradise divine light. Why would such a dense heavenly paradise divine light envelop this ancient city? Autumn Moon, Ling Yue, and the others all exclaimed and were puzzled. Even the Bone Demon, Xian Yanqing, and Tang Jun, who were experienced and knowledgeable, revealed puzzled expressions. Dandan frowned and looked carefully. Sometimes he looked at the ancient city, sometimes he looked at the ground, and then he sent a rune into the ground. After a while, this ancient city is set up with a mysterious formation that can constantly extract the heavenly paradise divine light from the depths of the ground to protect this ancient city. It seems that under this ancient city, no, perhaps under this island, there is a huge Qi vein. Dandan speculated. As he reached the end, his eyes shone as if he had seen countless treasures. Let's go to the sea and take a look. Perhaps we can find some clues. Xian Yanqing suggested. Everyone agreed and left the place. They speculated that this ancient city was the real Purple Firmament Immortal Kingdom. However, the ancient city was surrounded by heavenly paradise divine light. Moreover, the heavenly paradise divine light was so dense that it was impossible for them to enter. Even if they had the armor that Dandan and Bubble had forged together, it was still far from enough. They even speculated that even Origin Realm experts would not be able to enter. If they tried to force their way in, they might be killed by the dense heavenly paradise divine light. They came to the edge of the island and entered the sea, sinking down. Not long after, they sank to the bottom of the sea and saw an incomparably huge mountain range. It was like a divine dragon that extended into the depths of the island. Chi vein, an incomparably huge chi vein. However, they revealed a trace of doubt. Although this chi vein was huge, it seemed similar to the chi vein that they had fought over with the primordial light race. This was the purple firmament immortal kingdom. It was beneath their dignity to be located on such a chi vein. Perhaps there is more than one chi vein under the island. Let's take a look again. Guamo said. Lu Ming and the others nodded. They followed the bottom of the sea and circled around the island. Indeed, not long after, they discovered another chi vein. It was not smaller than the previous one. It extended from afar and converged with another chi vein in the depths of the island. There really was more than one. They continued to observe and discovered a third, fourth, and fifth chi veins. In the end, they circled around the island and discovered a total of 9 chi veins. Yes, a total of 9 chi veins. Each chi vein was about the same size. The 9 chi veins were like 9 divine dragons entrenched at the bottom of the sea. The dragon heads converged at the center of the island. They speculated that the place where the 9 chi veins converged was very likely under the ancient city. That ancient city was constantly extracting the heavenly paradise divine light from the depths of the chi veins to form a powerful protection. It seems like we won't be able to enter the ancient city in a short period of time. Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. End of chapter. Chapter 4902. Lu Ming sighed. It seemed that they would not be able to enter the ancient city in a short period of time. That's right. The ancient city's formation is too advanced. I can't break it at all. Dandan also shook his head. Do we have to wait for this area to collapse before we can enter? Guamo said. That's right. Sooner or later, Purple Cloud Grotto will collapse completely. The 9 meridians will collapse and the ancient city's formation will be torn apart. Only then can people from the outside enter. But it will take at least a few years for that to happen, Dandan said. Everyone nodded. The collapse of Purple Cloud Grotto would not happen instantly. It would be a gradual process that would last for a period of time. It could be as short as a few years or as long as 100 years. The collapse of Purple Cloud Grotto started from the periphery and slowly extended to the center. At that moment, the periphery of Purple Cloud Grotto was almost completely destroyed. It was in a state of chaos and there were huge cracks that extended to the center. When they came, they saw that there were a few huge cracks in the sea. The seawater was pouring in and the scene was shocking. These cracks would extend all the way to the island. When they reached the island, they would definitely tear apart the 9 meridians below the island. When the meridians collapsed, they would not be able to absorb the grotto divine light and energy from the meridians. The ancient city's formation would naturally be useless. It seems that we are the first to arrive here. Why don't we take a look around and familiarize ourselves with the terrain so that we can seize the opportunity later? Tang Jun's suggestion was naturally approved by everyone. The group of 10 immediately began to explore the entire island. There was dead silence around the island. There were no plants or divine herbs. They wandered around for a while but did not find anything. Half an hour later, they saw a dark red land. They stopped at the edge of the dark red land because they felt that there was something unusual about the land. The gloomy aura was thicker and more terrifying. The color of this land is different from other places. It's dark red as if it's soaked in blood, Guamo said. Whoosh. Lu Ming waved his hand and controlled a divine weapon to fly into the dark red land. Without causing any abnormalities, the divine weapon circled around the dark red ground and flew back. Looks like we worried too much. Lu Ming opened his mouth but before he could finish he paused and his eyes narrowed. Because on the dark red ground, some places suddenly wriggled, and then pitch-black sharp claws stretched out. Bang bang bang, following that burly figures leaped out of the soil one after another. It was the absolute Een corpse. There were at least a few hundred extreme Een corpses. Their eyes were pitch black like abysses as they stared at Lu Ming and the others, but they did not attack. With a roar, the hundreds of absolute Een corpses on the scene began to move, forming a square formation. Then, an even more burly figure stepped out and landed in front of the square formation. It was the silver-eyed Een corpse. Outsider, get out of this island. Otherwise, I'll kill you without mercy. The silver-eyed corpse actually opened his mouth. His voice was hoarse and filled with brutality. Lu Ming and the others were dumbfounded. This silver-eyed corpse could actually speak? It was not like they had not encountered silver-eyed corpses before, and they had encountered quite a number of them. Although those silver-eyed corpses had intelligence and were not low, none of them could speak. This silver-eyed corpse could not only command the other extreme corpses to form a square formation, but it could also speak, which really surprised Lu Ming and the others. Seeing Lu Ming and the others in a daze, the silver-eyed corpse's silver eyes revealed a brutal murderous intent. I'll say it again, outsider, get out of this island or I'll kill you without mercy. The silver-eyed corpse's hoarse voice sounded again, filled with cold murderous intent. Get out of this island? Based on what? You're just a bunch of dead corpses. Do you want to occupy the Purple Heaven Immortal Kingdom? Dandan curled his lips and shouted. Kill? The silver-eyed corpse revealed a brutal murderous intent and roared. Roar, roar, roar. The extreme corpses roared and charged at Lu Ming and the others. You're courting death. Dandan roared and took a step forward. Dense runes appeared on the ground, forming a large array that enveloped hundreds of extreme corpses. Space-time swamp. Bubbles made a move, and the space-time power covered all the extreme corpses, limiting their speed. Ling Yue drew her bow and knocked an arrow. She exploded with all her might and shot out shocking arrows one after another. Bone Demon, Tang Jun, Wan Shen, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Qiu, and the others also charged out, shooting out weapons made of blue firestones. Lu Ming did not move and stared at the silver-eyed corpse. Ordinary extreme corpses were also very strong, and there was no lack of extreme corpses that were comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven, but Bone Demon and the others with the blue firestones were enough to deal with them. Kill? The silver-eyed corpse stared at Lu Ming and roared. Its body was like a bolt of black lightning as it charged at Lu Ming. Its sharp claws grabbed out, and it actually condensed a large bird that pounced at Lu Ming. This is some kind of offensive technique. Lu Ming's heart trembled. This silver-eyed corpse was really amazing. Not only was it intelligent, it could speak and it could even use offensive techniques. The extreme corpses that Lu Ming and the others had encountered before could only blindly wave their claws to attack. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. The battle character art exploded with 9 times the battle strength, and the forbidden power flowed into the war god spear. The war god spear released a dazzling light, and with a stab, it directly pierced through the silver-eyed corpse's giant bird. The spear light did not stop, and it pierced through the silver-eyed corpse's palm. The silver-eyed corpse quickly retreated, and the black gas on its body spread out, resisting the blue flames on its palm and slowly extinguishing the blue flames. What a dense black gas! Lu Ming discovered that the black gas on the silver-eyed corpse was frighteningly dense, and it was even stronger than the silver-eyed corpses he had encountered before. At the same time, Lu Ming also noticed that the black gas on the other extreme corpses was even denser than the ones he had encountered before. In other words, these extreme corpses were even harder to deal with. The extreme corpses here are generally stronger, maybe it has something to do with the environment here. Lu Ming pondered. On this island, the cold aura was even denser. Moreover, the ground in front of them was dark red, and the cold aura was extremely dense. These extreme corpses had lived under the dark red ground for many years, and it had created a terrifying strength. Luckily, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon and the others had refined top-grade soul-grade divine armors. With the top-grade soul-grade divine armors protecting their bodies, they could block these extreme corpses. The silver-eyed corpse's palm was pierced by Lu Ming, and it quickly retreated. It then roared into the sky and its voice spread far and wide. Your opponent is me. Guemo waved his purple-gold battle axe and charged at a silver-eyed corpse, blocking it. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his battle god spear, becoming one with the spear, transforming into a resplendent spear light, shattering the void as he charged forward. The spear light pierced into a large group of extreme corpses. This was Lu Ming's all-out attack. How could an ordinary extreme corpse block Lu Ming's all-out attack? Even those extreme corpses whose battle prowess was comparable to the strongest Lord of Heaven could not. Bang, bang, bang. Wherever the spear light passed, the extreme corpses exploded one by one, completely destroyed by the destructive power of the spear light. Bang, In the end, the spear light collided with an extreme Yin corpse, sending it flying. Lu Ming's figure did not stop as he continued to attack the extreme Yin corpse. If he wanted to kill, he would focus on killing one. As for the other extreme Yin corpses, even the silver-eyed Yin corpses, Lu Ming was too lazy to care about them. Anyway, he had a top-grade origin-grade divine weapon battle armor, so he could still block the silver-eyed Yin corpses' attacks. Desolate style, sky-breaking style. Lu Ming unleashed his full battle prowess, using the 2 killer moves consecutively, unleashing a torrential attack on the silver-eyed Yin corpse. In just a few moves, half of the silver-eyed Yin corpse's body was destroyed by Lu Ming. Although the silver-eyed Yin corpse wanted to repair it, Lu Ming's strength was too strong, and the silver-eyed Yin corpse could not repair it at all. Clang, clang. The attacks of the other 2 silver-eyed Yin corpses landed on Lu Ming's body, but they were all blocked by the origin-grade divine weapon battle armor. Even if the impact passed through the battle armor and hit Lu Ming's body, it was still within the range of Lu Ming's endurance. After all, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 9th layer of the Divine Master Realm. His overall strength had increased greatly, and his defense had also increased by several times. Lu Ming ignored the attacks of the other extreme Yin corpses and attacked the silver-eyed Yin corpse with all his strength. Boom! With a palm strike, a continent formed and pressed down on the silver-eyed Yin corpse. The silver-eyed Yin corpse resisted with all its might, but its strength was limited due to its heavy injuries. Its body cracked open and the black chi constantly dissipated. Its aura withered and it was on the verge of death. Kill! Lu Ming roared as he continued to use the heaven-breaking stance, becoming one with the spear. The battle god's spear stabbed at the silver-eyed Yin corpse's forehead. The battle god's spear had blue firestones, so it was more effective against the silver-eyed Yin corpse. With this move, Lu Ming planned to kill the silver-eyed Yin corpse once and for all. Brr. At this moment, a roar came from the depths of the dark red earth. This roar was incomparably terrifying, and the entire sky trembled. An incomparably dense black chi erupted from that direction, surging over like a tide. Corpse King, save me. The silver-eyed Yin corpse on the verge of death cried for help. Rumble. The sound of space exploding could be heard. Lu Ming glanced over and saw a burly figure in the depths of the dark red earth. It was rushing over at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming's face turned solemn, but he didn't stop attacking. The battle god's spear accurately pierced through the silver-eyed Yin corpse's forehead, piercing through its head. The blue flames mixed with destructive power completely destroyed the silver-eyed Yin corpse. You're courting death. Seeing the silver-eyed Yin corpse being killed, the burly figure rushed out from the depths of the dark red earth and let out a furious roar. He held a black halberd in his hand. The halberd looked tattered, but it was condensed with an incomparably dense and cold black chi. The halberd slashed out, growing rapidly and slashing towards Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming waved the battle god's spear to meet the attack. With a clang, the battle god's spear violently shook. Lu Ming felt an incomparably powerful force rush towards him along the battle god's spear. He couldn't help but retreat. However, the burly figure was in a similar situation. Its forward momentum was stopped and it drifted backwards. Another extreme Yin corpse, but its eyes are golden. Is this the golden-eyed Yin corpse that Song Qiong mentioned? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Song Qiong had once said that there was a golden-eyed Yin corpse above the silver-eyed Yin corpse, known as the king of extreme Yin corpses. It was extremely difficult to form a golden-eyed Yin corpse at this level. Only monstrous existences could form a golden-eyed Yin corpse when they were alive. In the last epoch, the number of golden-eyed Yin corpses was even fewer than the origin realm extreme Yin corpses when the corpse calamity broke out on the primitive continent. Chapter 4904. Lu Ming had always suspected that there were origin realm extreme Yin corpses in the Purple Heaven Wonderland. However, because of the origin tribulation, the origin realm extreme Yin corpses were all in slumber. Outsider, you dare to kill my subordinates? Die. The golden eye Yin corpse roared. Cold killing intent flickered in his golden pupils. The black chi surging around his body was several times denser than the silver eye Yin corpse. His aura was thick and terrifying. He held a tattered pitch-black halberd in his hand. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming like a ray of light. Let's see how strong this golden eye Yin corpse is. Lu Ming charged forward with the war god's spear in his hand and engaged in a fierce battle with the golden eye Yin corpse. The two of them were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than a dozen moves. The other extreme Yin corpses were unable to interfere at all. The other silver Iene corpses simply surrounded the bone demon. This made the bone demon rather depressed. He could only fight while fleeing. Fortunately, he was unscathed due to his immeasurably tough body. What a strong battle strength. This golden Iene corpse's battle strength is not weaker than mine. Moreover, it is extremely difficult to deal with, Lu Ming thought in his heart. His face was solemn. The golden Iene corpse's battle strength was extremely shocking. Lu Ming had already used all his methods. He used the desolate style and the sky-breaking style consecutively, but he still could not do anything to the golden Iene corpse. Moreover, the golden Iene corpse's defense and vitality were abnormally strong. Lu Ming also discovered that the blue firestone's restraining effect on the golden Iene corpse was even smaller. Although it could not be said to be negligible, it could not play a decisive role. Very soon after a few more moves, Lu Ming's figure suddenly retreated rapidly. With a few flashes, he appeared beside the bone demon. He activated the desolate ring and let the bone demon enter it. Then Lu Ming quickly flew into the distance. It was not that he was afraid of the golden Iene corpse. It was just that Lu Ming felt that there was no need to continue fighting. He could not do anything to the golden Iene corpse. Rather than wasting his strength, it was better to leave. Chase. The golden Iene corpse roared and led the extreme Iene corpse army to chase after Lu Ming. However, the absolute Iene corpse was not known for its speed. Even the golden Iene corpse was not as fast as Lu Ming. After chasing for a while, it lost track of Lu Ming. Damn it. Pass down the order. Kill all outsiders without mercy. The golden-eyed Iene corpse angrily roared. Finally, it helplessly returned to the dark red ground. Its body sank into the ground and disappeared. After shaking them off for a while, Lu Ming stopped and released Xian Yanqing and the others from the great desolate ring. Then he told them about the golden-eyed Iene corpse. It seems that the extreme Iene corpses on this island are extremely intelligent. The extreme Iene corpses have already formed a complete faction and are extremely difficult to deal with. Xian Yanqing sighed. In other places, the extreme Iene corpses they met were like a plate of loose sand. Although the silver Iene corpse could also command the low-level extreme Iene corpses, it was definitely not so organized. The others also nodded. The extreme Iene corpses on this island were gathered together like a tribe. It was indeed difficult to deal with them. However, this island was very large. They would just have to avoid it in the future. After discussing for a while, they decided to avoid the dark red ground and continue to explore the other parts of the island. They continued to set off. Half a day later, they made another shocking discovery. Because they found another dark red ground on the other side of the island. The dark red ground emitted an aura that was almost the same as the one they had encountered before. When Lu Ming and the others had just stepped in, there were actually extreme Iene corpses charging out from under the ground. This time, Lu Ming and the others had learned their lesson and directly retreated. There was no need to tangle with these extreme Iene corpses. However, they were still very shocked in their hearts. On this island, there was actually more than one dark red ground. There were actually extreme Iene corpses living under each of them. They guessed that this dark red ground should have been soaked in the blood of some terrifying creature, creating a terrifying fierce land that was suitable for the extreme Iene corpses to cultivate in. In the end, Lu Ming and the others searched the entire island and found a total of 3 dark red lands. All of them had extreme Iene corpses. Other than these 3 dark red lands, there was nothing unusual in the other parts of the island. There were also no living creatures. Of course, they didn't find any divine medicines either. Let's find a place to settle down and wait. A few years isn't long anyway. Lu Ming said. They didn't have any plans to leave. At most, in a few years, the giant crack would extend to this place. At that time, not to mention the ancient city, even the resources contained in the 9 chi veins were unimaginable. One had to know that they had obtained more than 10 billion desolate crystals from the previous chi vein. In addition, there were large amounts of main-grade divine medicines, source-grade divine medicines, and even top-grade source-grade divine medicines. Moreover, there were immortal crystals among them. Their value was simply immeasurable. And there were a total of 9 such enormous meridians here. How could he miss out on such an opportunity? I know a place. It's at the edge of a chi vein. We'll settle down there. In these few years we can cultivate. Dandan said. Naturally, no one had any objections. They immediately set off and arrived at a hill. This hill was adjacent to a chi vein. If that chi vein cracked open and a treasure flew out, they would be able to easily collect it. After arriving here, Dandan began to set up a formation. The main thing was the concealment formation which could hide them. Even if people from other factions came or if the Absolutine Corps came, they would not be able to find them. You guys stay here for now. I've found many precious metal deposits on this island. We can't miss this opportunity. I'll go get some. The ball was on the fairway. Qiuqiu's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Divine Lord level, and his cultivation mainly relied on devouring high-level divine weapons or metal materials. Cultivating here was of no use to him. Go, but remember to be careful. If you encounter people from other forces, try to avoid them as much as possible. Lu Ming said. Don't worry. I won't fight them head-on. Let's go. With that, Qiuqiu's figure flashed and he left. Dandan spent an entire day setting up a large-scale concealment formation. Then Lu Ming took out the enormous desolate crystal vein. They began to dig out the primordial gems in the vein. After a final calculation, the number of desolate crystals in the vein reached 1 billion. There were also several hundred immortal crystals. Every immortal crystal contained an origin imprint. It was an important cultivation resource for origin realm experts. Afterward, the others also took out the desolate crystals and main-grade divine medicines they had obtained earlier. If they were all converted into desolate crystals, they would be worth more than 10 billion. These resources should be enough for the 5 of you to cultivate to the 9th layer of the Divine Lord realm. Lu Ming glanced at Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Wanxin and Tang Jun. Chapter 4905. Now only Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Wanxin and Tang Jun were still at the 8th level Divine Master realm, and they needed a lot of resources to cultivate. Lu Ming had already reached the 9th level Divine Master realm, and the next step was to break through to the peak of the Divine Master realm. He no longer needed resources like desolate crystals and main-grade divine herbs. Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Wanxin and Tang Jun were all top geniuses, and the power they controlled was not to be underestimated. The resources they needed to cultivate were also shocking. On average, each of them needed 2 to 3 billion desolate crystals, but they had more than 10 billion desolate crystals, so it was about enough. A large number of main-grade divine herbs and desolate crystals piled up into a mountain. The 5 of them surrounded the mountain, each grabbing a desolate crystal and starting to refine it. Lu Ming, Bone Demon, Autumn Moon, and Xian Yinqing sat cross-legged outside, guarding Dandan and the others while comprehending their own secret techniques. Lu Ming sat cross-legged, circulating forbidden power. His body glowed and specks of light filled the sky like stars. A yellow mud road appeared, leading to the depths of his dantian. My cultivation has reached the 9th level Divine Master realm, and my universe bridge should have reached the cosmic sea. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. After breaking through to the 9th level Divine Master realm, he had not cultivated properly. On the yellow mud road, Lu Ming's spiritual sense condensed, and then he stepped forward. He passed by the pool of blood. The blood was bright red and glowed as if it had just been spilled on it. What was the origin of this pool of blood? Lu Ming could not figure it out, so he could only ignore it and continue walking. This was Lu Ming's universe bridge, so he could control his speed. With one step, he entered the depths of the universe bridge, and after 2 more steps, he arrived at the end of the yellow mud road. In front of him was a boundless ocean. This ocean was filled with endless multicolored light. He took a step forward and entered the multicolored light. Within the light were endless stars, galaxies, star fields and so on. He had become incomparably huge, and with a stretch of his hand, he could envelop a star field. These star systems were filled with rays of light. These rays of light were the source of the star systems. This origin was very clear. Lu Ming stretched out his hand to grab this origin and could clearly feel it. The cosmic sea. That's right, it's really the cosmic sea. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was not the first time he had come to the cosmic sea. Back in the Taishang Immortal City's origin battle, he had won first place and had come to the cosmic sea once. That time he had condensed the seed of the origin. This was the second time. This was the first time he had come to the universe sea. He had come to the universe sea through the yellow mud road by relying completely on himself. Why is it their perception sea origin? Origin is? Why is it origin so especially origin? My idiot. Lu Ming was a little puzzled. The last time he came to the cosmic sea from the Grand Supreme Immortal City, his perception of the origin was already relatively clear because he was first. He had asked around and the others were not as clear as him. Therefore, the seed of origin he had condensed was larger than the others. But now that he had come to the cosmic sea through the universe bridge, his perception of the origin was clearer than before. Under such conditions, as long as he comprehended the power of the origin, his speed would definitely be very fast. Could it be related to my taboo power? Lu Ming could not help but think so. Taboo power was no small matter, and his taboo power had undergone a qualitative change and was even more extraordinary. If it was related to the taboo power, it would make sense. In the distance, seems to be the ruins of the universe. Then Lu Ming looked into the distance. The distance was shrouded in a dense light. The last time he came, Lu Ming could not see it clearly at all. But this time Lu Ming could see more clearly. There seemed to be continents in the light, and they looked very much like the ruins of the universe. The cosmic sea seemed to be a projection of the primitive universe. Of course, there seemed to be a wider area on the other side of the ruins of the universe, but Lu Ming could no longer see it clearly. He retracted his gaze and looked at the yellow mud road again. The yellow mud road did not stop here but continues to extend forward. Where does it lead to? Lu Ming muttered, somewhat surprised and doubtful. He had heard others say that the universe bridge extended to the cosmic sea and stopped there. It would not continue to extend. The main function of the universe bridge was to allow the spiritual consciousness or consciousness of cultivators to come to the cosmic sea and comprehend the power of the origin. Therefore, the purpose of the universe bridge extending to the cosmic sea was achieved. However, he had never heard of a universe bridge extending to the cosmic sea and continuing to extend forward. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming stepped forward. With every step he took, it was as if he was crossing star fields. One star field after another passed under his feet. Soon, Lu Ming stepped into the area of the ruins of the universe along the universe bridge. Here, countless continent fragments were floating. These continent fragments seemed to be formed by rays of light. Lu Ming stretched out his palm and enveloped the countless continent fragments. The yellow mud road continued to extend forward. Lu Ming continued to move forward. After a while, he came to the edge of the ruins of the universe. The edge of the ruins of the universe was shrouded in a dense glow. This glow was like a barrier. Lu Ming could vaguely see that there seemed to be something behind the glow. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not see it clearly. The yellow mud road did not stop. It passed through the dense glow and kept moving forward. There seemed to be no end to it. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming decided. He was very curious. If the cosmic sea was a projection of the primitive universe, then this place was the edge of the primitive universe. What would happen after passing through the edge? He took a step forward and prepared to move forward along the yellow mud road. However, he couldn't do it. He was blocked. Lu Ming was blocked by the dense glow. This kind of glow was really like a kind of barrier blocking Lu Ming outside. No matter how hard Lu Ming tried, he could not pass through it. Why is this happening? I can pass through the yellow mud road. Why can't I pass through it? Lu Ming was puzzled. Lu Ming tried several times but failed. Lu Ming finally gave up. It's the same whether I have a forbidden body or not. I'll ask Senior Gu Changfeng later. Lu Ming pondered and did not continue. Then he sat down cross-legged on the yellow mud road and sensed the origin around him clearly. If I want to break through to the peak of the Almighty Realm, I must let the origin power in the origin seed reach a certain concentration. However, what I need to do now is to transform the origin power in the origin seed into an origin power that belongs to me. Everyone's origin energy was different. They all had their own unique characteristics. It was formed by gathering one's essence, chi, and spirit based on the power one controlled. Chapter 4906. For example, Lu Ming had to use the taboo power as a foundation to condense the power of origin. In addition, he had to integrate his essence, energy, and spirit. Thus, it could be said that everyone's source energy was different. Even if the power they controlled was the same, after condensing their source energy, there would still be differences in their source energy. Lu Ming had condensed the power of origin a long time ago, but that kind of power of origin belonged to the general attribute and did not have personal characteristics. Before he broke through to the peak of the Almighty Master Realm, he had to convert it. However, it was not that easy to convert it successfully. Lu Ming had to have a deep understanding of the power of origin. Therefore, Lu Ming's temporary cultivation was to focus on comprehension. Time flew by as he meditated. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. In half a year, Lu Ming's comprehension of the power of origin had reached a new level. Convert. With a jolt of his heart, the power of origin in the origin seed in Lu Ming's body began to transform rapidly. Very soon, The power of origin in the origin seed was completely transformed into power of origin that contained Lu Ming's own characteristics. I didn't expect to succeed in half a year. Lu Ming opened his eyes and felt the power of origin in his body. He was delighted. This speed was much faster than he had imagined. He knew that the main reason was that he could clearly sense the power of origin in the cosmic sea. Otherwise, the conversion speed would not be so fast. After the first step of conversion was successful, the next step was to continue comprehending and slowly strengthen the power of origin. Once the power of origin reached a certain concentration, he would naturally be able to break through to the peak of the Almighty Master Realm. This process could not be done overnight. It needed to be accumulated slowly. However, Lu Ming could clearly sense the power of origin in the cosmic sea. He believed that this time would be greatly reduced. At least, he would save a lot of time compared to others. Lu Ming glanced at the others and found that Ling Yue, Bubbles, Wan Shen and Tang Jun were still refining the desolate crystals and had not broken through. It was normal that they had not broken through. Even with the great heavenly origin refining array set up by Dandan, it was impossible to refine so many desolate crystals so quickly. It would take at least a year. Guemo was also cultivating, most likely comprehending Genesis techniques. Although Guemo could use Genesis techniques now, the more he comprehended them, the more proficient he would be at using them and the more powerful they would become. He didn't know what Xian Yinqing and Autumn Moon were comprehending, but they were probably comprehending Genesis techniques and origin power. Continue. Lu Ming closed his eyes, and his spiritual consciousness condensed on the yellow dirt road. Following the yellow dirt road, he re-entered the cosmic sea and continued to comprehend the power of origin. Time passed quickly and another year and a half passed. Lu Ming and the others had been cultivating here for 2 years. Lu Ming's improvement was not small. The origin energy in the origin seed was much denser than before, nearly doubling. Of course, he was still far from reaching the peak of the Divine Master Realm. However, it would also increase Lu Ming's battle prowess a little. Without mentioning anything else, the denser origin energy would pour into the War God's spear, and it would definitely be able to unleash more of its power. After 2 years of cultivation, Ling Yue, Bubbles, Wan Shen and Tang Jun had all entered the 9th layer of the Divine Master Realm. In this way, apart from Guemo and Qiuqiu, Lu Ming's group of 10 were all at the 9th layer of the Divine Master Realm. Their overall strength had greatly increased. Moreover, once they set up a joint attack formation, its power would definitely increase greatly. It could be said that they had gained a lot from this trip to the Purple Heaven Utopia. Rumble. The ground suddenly trembled and a violent rumble came from deep underground. In the distance, the sea churned and huge waves rose to the sky. Lu Ming and the others wore calm expressions as if they were used to this. This was because after 2 years, the huge cracks had already extended to the island. Over the past month, the island had frequently erupted with rumbles. It was only a matter of time before the veins beneath the island were torn apart. Not only that, but more than a year ago, Lu Ming had discovered that the creatures of the Forbidden Lands had already arrived on this island. This was because the creatures of the Forbidden Lands would often fly over their heads. However, Dandan had set up a concealment array here, so the creatures of the Forbidden Lands could not discover Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming had seen the Primordial Light Race, Fiendine Race and Blue Sea Race before. Swish, swish. Suddenly, several figures flew over Lu Ming's group, their speed astonishing. They quickly flew in a certain direction as if in a hurry. They were members of the Fiendine race. The Fiendine race seems to have something important to do. You guys stay here. I'll go take a look. After Lu Ming spoke, his figure flashed and he left the original spot, following behind the few Evil Yin clan members from afar. These few people from the Evil Yin clan were all experts. They were all peak almighty existences. However, they did not discover Lu Ming. After flying for a while, boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming heard violent explosions coming from the front. Following the roars, a cold aura swept out in all directions like a wave. There's a place where the Extreme Yin corpses live. Are the Fiendine race and the Extreme Yin corpses fighting? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. There was nothing strange about this. The Extreme Yin corpses seemed to be hostile towards outsiders and wanted to kill all of them. It was normal for them to fight with the Fiendine race. The few Evil Yin clan members dashed to the front at high speed. Lu Ming followed them and finally saw the situation in front clearly. At the edge of a dark red land, the Extreme Yin corpses and the Fiendine race were fighting fiercely. There were more than 1,000 Extreme Yin corpses. However, there were more Fiendine race members, close to 2,000 of them. Furthermore, the Fiendine race members had blue firestones. Lu Ming realized that the Fiendine race, like the Primordial Light race, seemed to have some method to restrain the Extreme Yin corpses and could easily penetrate the Extreme Yin corpses' protective black energy. That is, Lu Ming looked up into the sky. There was a huge battle there that attracted Lu Ming's attention. Two figures were fighting fiercely in the sky. The scene was extremely terrifying. One of them was a tall Extreme Yin corpse. It was wearing tattered black armor and its eyes were golden. Its aura was terrifying. It was the Extreme Yin Corpse King and the Golden Yin Corpse. This Golden Yin Corpse was not the one that Lu Ming had fought with before. This was because it was on another dark red land. Obviously, this dark red land also had a Golden Yin Corpse guarding it. The one fighting with the Golden Yin Corpse was a Fiendine race member. He looked very young, in his 20s. However, his battle strength was extremely terrifying. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand in the battle with the Golden Yin Corpse. There's such an elite among the Fiendine race. Did he enter Purple Heaven later? Lu Ming thought. He already knew that the Primordial Light race, the Fiendine race, and the Blue Sea race had come to Purple Heaven to obtain resources. For example, various divine medicines and immortal crystals and immortal stones. Once they obtained the resources, they would send people to deliver them. Chapter 4907. Once the living beings of the four great forbidden lands obtained enough resources, they would send people to transport them out to awaken more living beings of the forbidden lands. In the past few years, the living beings of the forbidden lands had transported countless resources out of the Purple Heaven cave. No one knew how many living beings of the forbidden lands had awakened. Most of the living beings of the forbidden lands that had awakened would enter the Purple Heaven cave to obtain more resources and then transport them out, forming a virtuous cycle. Therefore, in the past few years, many of the living beings of the three great forbidden lands had entered the Purple Heaven cave. It was not strange that there were existences comparable to the Golden Yin Corpse. For example, the terrifying expert of the Baleful Yin race. He had never seen him before. Perhaps he had entered from the beginning, or perhaps he was a new expert. In short, after 2 years, the situation in the Purple Heaven cave had become more and more complicated. Even though Lu Ming's combat strength was not what it used to be, he did not dare to let his guard down. You're just a mixed blood of the Extreme Yin race. To put it bluntly, you're just a mixed blood. How dare you try to kill my race? You're overestimating yourself. The terrifying expert of the Baleful Yin race said coldly. His voice was cold and arrogant. Facing the Extreme Yin corpse, he was like a superior looking down on a subordinate. Extreme Yin race? What race is that? Lu Ming was puzzled. This was the first time he had heard of the Extreme Yin race. Die. The Golden Yin corpse's golden eyes were filled with anger. He held a broken bronze battle sword in his hand and attacked crazily, unleashing a terrifying attack. This level of combat prowess was truly astonishing. Even an expert at the level of King Guangqian would be severely injured in a few moves. However, the expert of the Baleful Yin race was also very powerful. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand in the battle with the Golden Yin corpse. Below, there were as many as 6 Silver Yin corpses among the Extreme Yin corpses. However, they were all blocked by the Baleful Yin race experts. Overall, the Baleful Yin race had the upper hand. From time to time, there would be Extreme Yin corpses being killed. Suddenly, the Golden Yin corpse let out a terrifying roar. The sound pierced through the clouds and spread far and wide. Dong. Suddenly the ground shook. At the same time, a roar came from the depths of the dark red ground. The roar was filled with anger, and a horrifying cold aura rushed over in a frenzy. Another Golden Yin corpse. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly shrank, revealing a look of shock. On this dark red land, there was actually more than one Golden Yin corpse. At this moment, what was rushing out from the depths of the dark red earth was clearly another Golden Yin corpse. How could a mere mixed blood form such a high-level Extreme Yin tribe? Damn it, back off. The terrifying expert from the Baleful Yin race roared. Following his orders, the other members of the Baleful Yin race all retreated. However, although they retreated, they did so in an orderly manner, not leaving any openings for the Absolute Yin corpse. At the same time, the Baleful Yin expert was also retreating as he fought. In the depths of the dark red earth, the second Golden Yin corpse was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived nearby. Set up the formation and stop him. The terrifying expert from the Baleful Yin race ordered. Below them, a joint attack formation was set up. This was actually a 21-man combined attack array, condensing a huge Yin Fiend Ghost King, much more terrifying than a 15-man combined attack array. The Yin Fiend Ghost King rushed into the sky and exchanged a blow with the second golden-eyed Yin corpse. Both sides retreated at the same time. The baleful Yin race retreated as they fought. The baleful Yin race's speed was extremely fast, and their bodies were like ghosts. The absolute Yin corpse could not catch up to them at all. After a while, the baleful Yin race calmly retreated. Lu Ming also left secretly without alerting the others. He returned to the concealment formation and recounted what he had just seen. After Xian Yinxing, Qiu Moon and the others heard this, they fell into deep thought. The situation was becoming more and more complicated, and there were too many experts. In the years when the Great Origin Tribulation had just descended, existences at the level of the strongest Lord of Heaven represented the strongest Divine Masters. Existences at this level in other factions were called the strongest Divine Masters. Once the strongest Lord of Heaven appeared, the other Divine Masters could only avoid him. They were simply unmatched. However, later on, as the creatures of the Forbidden Lands appeared, more and more experts appeared. The strongest Lord of Heaven did not seem that strong anymore. Guangqian Emissary was much stronger than the strongest Lord of Heaven by a large margin. Now, existences stronger than Guangqian Emissary were constantly appearing. The Golden Eye Corpse of the Absolute Yin Corpse, the Yi Immortal, the terrifying experts of the creatures of the Forbidden Lands, and those joint attack formations. The situation was too complicated. Even though Lu Ming and the others were getting stronger and stronger, they did not dare to be careless at all. There are many creatures of the Forbidden Lands. They will definitely clash with the Absolute Yin Corpse. We can continue to stay here and watch the tigers fight. Guamo said. Everyone nodded and continued to cultivate in the concealment formation. Not long after, Qiu returned. For the past 2 years, Qiu had been mining metal on the island and had only returned now. Qiu brought back a piece of news. The creatures of the 3 Forbidden Lands had indeed sent many terrifying experts. During this period there had been more than one conflict with the Absolute Yin Corpse. The experts sent by both sides were shockingly strong. There were existences at the level of the Golden Eye Corpse. Moreover, the creatures of the 3 Forbidden Lands had begun to divide the 9 Qi veins. They began to send people to guard the various Qi veins and wait for the treasures to fly out. As expected, after Qiu returned for 2 days, a large group of experts descended on this area. The Baleful Yin race. They were the Baleful Yin race. There were about 2,000 of them. The area where they landed was less than 10,000 miles away from Lu Ming and the others. They were on the other side of this Qi vein. 10,000 miles was a very short distance for a Divine Master. Lu Ming and the others could easily see them. However, they had the concealment formation so the Baleful Yin race could not see them. Damn it. They're clearly trying to steal our resources. Dandan said unhappily. Although they had broken through to the 9th level of the Divine Master realm, the primal crystals were not very useful to them. However, no one would complain about having too many primal crystals. If they brought back the Heaven Destroyer, they could give it to their friends and family. They could also exchange it for other precious treasures. Moreover, there were precious immortal crystals and source-level divine medicines in the Qi veins. Now that so many Baleful Yin race had arrived, they were too much of a hindrance. Just like that, a few more months passed. More and more cracks appeared in the surroundings, and the rumbling from the depths of the ground grew louder. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly streams of purple golden paradise divine light shot out from his Qi channels, forming pillars of light that pierced through the sky and into the firmament. However, the heavenly abode light was not as dense as everyone had imagined. It was far from comparable to the previous Qi vein. It would appear that the heavenly paradise divine light in the heavenly paradise meridians is being continuously extracted by the ancient city's spirit formation. As a result, the heavenly paradise divine light in the heavenly paradise meridians is not very dense. Dandan analyzed. There probably won't be any giant beasts in there, right? Bubbles said. I'm not very sure. Dandan said hesitantly. Chapter 4908. If the heavenly paradise light in the meridians wasn't very dense, they could use the armor that Dandan and Bubble had refined to enter and take the treasures. However, they couldn't be sure if there were any giant beasts condensed from heavenly paradise light in the meridians. The previous meridian had condensed 2 giant beasts. None of the 9 meridians here were smaller than the previous one. Would there be any giant beasts in there? Under normal circumstances, it was most likely possible. However, because the ancient city's formation was constantly absorbing the heavenly paradise light in the meridians, they couldn't be sure. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Along with the heavenly paradise light was a large number of desolate crystals. One could see that the great desolation crystals were like specks of stars as they flew out in all directions together with the heavenly paradise divine light. The baleful Een tribe members acted. Waves of baleful Een chi swept out and swept away the desolate gems one by one. They could even see an immortal crystal mixed in from time to time. Desolate crystals were called immortal stones in the previous epoch. Immortal crystals were even more precious as they contained origin imprints. Damn it. We've been guarding here for so long for nothing. Dandan gnashed his teeth in anger. Lu Ming and the others also felt that it was a pity. Immortal crystals weren't immortal stones. Immortal stones weren't of much use to them. However, immortal crystals would be of great use once they reached reciprocity. With their talent, breaking through to reciprocity in the future was a certainty. Therefore, it was necessary to store immortal crystals in advance. They were naturally envious when they saw immortal crystals fall into the hands of the baleful Een race. However, they were too close. As soon as they tried to take the immortal crystals and immortal stones, they would be discovered by the baleful Een race. There were around 2,000 baleful Een race members. They were definitely experts. Lu Ming recognized a young baleful Een race member among them. He was the one who had clashed with the golden-eyed Een corpse. Just him alone was enough to fight with Lu Ming. Not to mention, there were so many experts comparable to Guangqin royal emissaries. The combined formations were also extremely terrifying. Once Lu Ming and the others were discovered, they definitely wouldn't be their opponents. I'll secretly collect them with the power of spacetime. They shouldn't be able to discover us. Bubbles said. That's right, the power of spacetime. It can affect spacetime silently. Good, hurry up and attack. Dandan said impatiently. Sometime later, another violent tremor came from the depths of his meridians, followed by a burst of heavenly abode light, accompanied by a huge amount of immortal crystals and immortal stones. This time Bubble made her move. He pressed his hands forward, and two ancient origin characters appeared between his eyebrows. A silent fluctuation spread out. Even the void and spacetime in the distance were affected. Many immortal crystals and immortal stones that were flying around suddenly disappeared into thin air. In the next moment they appeared in the concealment formation Lu Ming and the others were in. Bubble used the power of space to intercept the immortal crystals and immortal stones. Then it used the power of time to erase all fluctuations. It was completely silent and did not cause the slightest fluctuation. At the same time the baleful Een clansmen also attacked. Baleful Een chi swept out and swept away the immortal crystals and immortal stones. However, they immediately realized that something was wrong. That's strange. Why are there so few of them? I think so too. I clearly saw a lot of immortal crystals and immortal stones flying out, but when I collected them I didn't see that many. Am I seeing things? Everyone can't be seeing things, right? Many baleful Een clansmen were discussing, bewildered. The young baleful Een clansman was also bewildered. He looked around but did not find anything unusual. Bubble, collect less next time. If the difference is too big they might notice something. Lu Ming said to Bubble. Alright. Bubble nodded. As expected, the next time the immortal crystals and immortal stones flew out, Bubble collected less and left more for the baleful Een clansmen. After all, it was a long shot, right? It was not easy to snatch food from the baleful Een clansmen's mouths. This time, the baleful Een clansmen also realized that what they saw was different from what they collected. However, the difference was not very big and they did not find any clues, so they left it at that. Only the terrifying young leader of the baleful Een clansmen was still puzzled. That's not right. This time, I saw clearly that many immortal stones disappeared into thin air. The young baleful Een clansman thought to himself, his eyes flashing fiercely. It seems that someone is secretly trying to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. You're courting death. I will find you. His body flickered like a ghost. Very thin strands of baleful Een chi spread out and penetrated the void like threads. He was surrounded by a large number of baleful Een clansmen, so Lu Ming and the others did not notice his strange behavior. Just like that, every time immortal crystals and immortal stones flew out, Bubble would intercept a portion of them. Over the course of 2 months, the number of immortal stones, or chaos crystals, which were later replaced by immortal stones, that Bubble had intercepted numbered in the hundreds of millions. Bubble had only collected a small portion. The baleful Een clansmen had collected at least a few 100 million immortal stones. After Bubble collected another portion of immortal stones, the young baleful Een clansman's eyes suddenly shone with a cold light. I finally found you. You were hiding in a concealment formation, using the power of time and space to collect immortal crystals and immortal stones. But don't think you can hide from me. The young baleful Een clansman shouted coldly. His body shot up into the sky, bringing with it surging baleful Een chi as he rushed toward where they were. A distance of 10,000 miles could be covered in an instant for an expert of this level. Oh no, we've been discovered. Lu Ming and the others' expressions changed. At this time, the young baleful Een clansman had already reached them. He slapped out a huge palm that covered the sky and smashed down on Lu Ming and the others. This scene was too sudden. By the time Lu Ming and the others reacted, the violent power had already reached them. The concealment formation that Dandan had set up rumbled violently. After all, the concealment formation was not a defensive formation. Its defensive power was not strong. Under the pressure of such a terrifying power, it immediately collapsed. When the concealment formation collapsed, Lu Ming and the others were naturally exposed. So it's a remnant of the void universe. How dare you snatch food from the tiger's mouth in front of me? Die. The young baleful Een clansman shouted coldly. Baleful Een chi surged out and turned into a ferocious evil spirit that pounced on Lu Ming and the others. The evil spirit opened its mouth and roared, wanting to swallow Lu Ming and the others. The young baleful Een clansman was very terrifying. He was an existence that could fight against the golden-eyed Een corpse. Once he attacked, the power was earth-shattering. Bone Demon, Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon and the others' expressions changed drastically as they felt a great pressure. Bus. Lu Ming attacked. The war god's spear trembled and a spear radiance shot up into the sky, colliding with the evil spirit. Chapter 4909. When the spear light collided with the evil spirit howled. It was clearly an attack from the baleful Een youth, but it seemed to be alive. Finally, with a boom, the evil spirit exploded. Lu Ming's body swayed as he retreated 2 steps. The baleful Een youth exclaimed in surprise as he sized up Lu Ming in shock. He clearly hadn't expected Lu Ming to be able to block his attack. His fighting strength could truly be considered invincible among divine masters. In the divine master realm, those who could block his attack could be counted on one hand. When he discovered that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 9th tier divine master realm, he was even more shocked. If a 9th tier divine master had such fighting strength, then wouldn't he be even more terrifying after reaching the peak of the divine master realm? Then wouldn't an invincible divine master like him become a joke? Kill. He had to kill him. At this moment, the other baleful Een elites were also rushing over. Lu Ming, he's Lu Ming. A baleful Een youth comparable to the Guangqian royal emissary roared. He recognized Lu Ming. This person had seen Lu Ming at the Heron ancient mine. In the end, he had been nearly scared to death by Lu Ming and had fled in a sorry state. So you're Lu Ming. Very good, I've heard of your reputation when I first came to Purple Heaven. I'll take your head to celebrate the awakening of me, Gaishak. The baleful Een youth, Gaishak, said coldly. His body was like a bottomless pit that constantly spewed out baleful Een chi. The world was pitch black, shrouded by his baleful Een chi. A terrifying aura pressed down on everyone like an abyss. All of you enter the Chaos Ring. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xian Yinqing and the others as he secretly opened the Chaos Ring. A suction force enveloped Xian Yinqing and the others. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. Young master, be careful. Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon and the others asked with concern. They could feel how terrifying Gaishak was. Although they knew that Lu Ming was strong, they couldn't help but worry. At the same time, they also knew that it would be best for them to enter the Great Desolate Ring. It was much easier for Lu Ming to escape alone than for a group of people. With a flash, they entered the ancient Desolation Ring, leaving Lu Ming alone. Gaishak's gaze turned cold as he coldly said, "Do you think it's useful to store the others away? If I kill you, the others will die too." As soon as he finished speaking, a black banner appeared in Gaishak's hand. Streaks of Een chi revolved around the black banner, and it was covered with ferocious and terrifying patterns. It was obvious that this was an extremely high-level source-grade weapon. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Gaishak waved the black banner in Mengdi's hand. Immediately, a strong wind blew, and black chi soared into the sky. Roars came from the black banner, and then huge evil spirits rushed out of the black banner and pounced on Lu Ming. There were a total of 9 of them, and each of them was extremely terrifying, emitting a cold and sinister aura. Chaos style. Lu Ming directly struck out with the chaos style. A continent formed and suppressed the 9 evil spirits. At the same time he became one with his spear and executed the sky-breaking style. It turned into a bright spear light and pierced towards Gaishak. "Do you think you can fight me in close combat?" The king of evil ectoplasm shouted coldly. His body quickly swelled up, and his originally handsome face became ferocious. His body grew several times larger, and he used the black banner as an iron rod. He swept it out and collided with Lu Ming's spear light. Clang! There was a loud explosion and the force was rampant. Gaishak's body shook violently, and he retreated violently, stepping on the void. However, Lu Ming's attack was also blocked and his body floated back. Lu Ming felt a cold and sinister aura surging from the war god's spear, and even a small part of it passed through the top source-grade armor and attacked Lu Ming's body. It was destroyed by Lu Ming's taboo force. What a terrifying baleful Yin Qi! Lu Ming was shocked. In a head-on confrontation, the baleful Yin Qi could pass through the top source-grade armor. Although it was only a small part, it was absolutely amazing. Yin Jiuling under Dark Knight Rose also controlled the baleful Yin Qi, but compared with Gaishak, it was simply a small child. The difference was too great. However, Gaishak was even more shocked. He felt that Lu Ming's power was simply too sharp and invincible. It almost broke his layers of protective baleful Yin Qi and injured his body. It should be known that except for the Origin Realm experts, no one in the Divine Lord Realm had injured him for many years. At this time, the 9 evil spirits also collided with the primitive form and disappeared. "Kill!" Lu Ming shouted. As soon as his figure retreated, he immediately launched a counterattack. He took the initiative to attack Gaishak. The primitive form and the heaven-breaking form were displayed consecutively. Gaishak's speed was also very fast. He also attacked with all his strength. The world was completely enveloped by the baleful Yin Qi. Soon the two exchanged more than 10 moves. After more than 10 moves, Lu Ming began to gain the upper hand. Gaishak's baleful Yin Qi was very powerful and terrifying. Not only was it extremely cold, but it could also corrode and devour the flesh and blood of living creatures. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's forbidden power was too strong. It seemed to be able to restrain the baleful Yin Qi. Coupled with the protection of the top source-level divine armor, the baleful Yin Qi could not do anything to Lu Ming at all. Although Gaishak also had the top source-level divine armor, Lu Ming was still slightly stronger in terms of frontal strength. After more than 10 moves, Gaishak began to retreat. How could this be? The other baleful Yin race members could not believe their eyes when they saw this scene. Gaishak, who was undefeated and known as the invincible Divine Lord, was actually at a disadvantage. Moreover, his opponent was a 9th-layer Divine Lord. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. Set up the formation, kill him for me." Gaishak roared in rage. He no longer planned to fight Lu Ming one-on-one. He planned to use the formation to kill Lu Ming. The other baleful Yin race experts immediately began to set up formations. 221 people combined attack formations were set up, forming 2 gigantic baleful Yin ghost kings. Yes, there were actually 2 21-man combination formations among the baleful Yin race members. The 2 massive baleful Yin ghost kings lunged at Lu Ming from 2 different directions, their ghost chi soaring into the sky and causing the world to turn cold. A normal peak Divine Lord expert would have been frozen to death by this terrifying ghost chi before they could even get close, let alone fight with these baleful Yin ghost kings. Swish! Lu Ming pushed his speed to the limit, turning into a streak of light as he retreated, dodging the 2 baleful Yin ghost kings. "You want to win with numbers? Let's fight another day." Lu Ming sneered and turned to leave. Lu Ming was well aware that he would be defeated while facing Gaishak in 2 21-man combination formations, and he would find it difficult to escape unscathed. Naturally, leaving was the best course of action. Although his battle power was slightly stronger than the King Evil Spectre, that was because his forbidden power could restrain the other party. However, there was a limit to how strong he could be. It would be very difficult for him to injure the other party, let alone kill the other party. Thus, leaving was the best course of action. Chapter 49:10. Don't even think about leaving. Gaishak roared. His figure was like a ghost as he chased after Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. However, although Gaishak's speed was fast, the 2 Yin Fiend Ghost Kings weren't as fast. After all, the Yin Fiend Ghost Kings were formed by the Yin Fiend race's combined attack formation. This combined attack formation specialized in offense and speed wasn't its forte. In fact, there were many types of combined attack formation. Some combination formations were good at offense, some were good at defense, and some were good at speed. However, most of the combined attack formations specialized in offense. After all, the purpose of gathering the power of many experts together was to increase the offensive power. There were also many combined attack formations that specialized in defense, but there weren't as many as those that specialized in offense. As for combined attack formations that specialized in speed, there were even fewer of them. The main reason was that they weren't very useful. There weren't many people who could refine such a combined attack formation. What was the purpose of the carrier of the array formation that he had painstakingly refined, which was known for its speed? Was it to escape? Of course, there were also combined attack formations that were very strong in all aspects. However, these combined attack formations were rarer and more precious. The corresponding combined attack formations carrier was also harder to refine. For a combined attack formation with the same number of people, this type of combined attack formations carrier was even more precious. Lu Ming's speed was also very shocking. He was like a ray of light as he disappeared into the distance in an instant. Only Gaishak was able to keep up with Lu Ming's speed. As for the other Fiend race members, they were left far behind. The two of them, one chasing and one fleeing, flew hundreds of thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly stopped. The war god's spear was like a mountain range as it smashed towards Gaishak. Gaishak waved the black banner and blocked it. Boom. Following that, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. A huge continent formed and pressed down on Gaishak. Gaishak controlled the 9 evil spirits to block it. With this delay, Lu Ming quickly escaped. Damn it! Gaishak roared in anger. However, he didn't continue to pursue. He knew that he couldn't stop Lu Ming alone. Not only was Lu Ming's combat strength strong, but his speed was also faster than he had imagined. Originally, he wanted to delay Lu Ming and wait for the combined attack formation to arrive, but he realized that it was impossible. This Lu Ming is really terrifying. When his cultivation reaches the peak divine master, no one below the origin level will be able to stop him. I have to send a message to the Infernal King and join forces with him. That's the only way. The king of the evil ectoplasms whispered. His body flashed and he left the place. And Ginfernals, comes T. Of them about? And the T. Lu Ming, what are your plans now? Xian Yanqing asked Lu Ming. I estimate that there are creatures of the Forbidden Lands near the 9 Chi Meridians. We can't let the creatures of the Forbidden Lands get the treasures under the Chi Meridians. We can only watch. Lu Ming said. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What do you plan to do? Dandan hurriedly asked. He knew Lu Ming very well and knew that Lu Ming didn't have good intentions. The evil race won't let us have an easy time. Naturally, we can't let them have an easy time either. Now it's up to Dandan and Bubbles. If the two of you work together, can you make me kill the Fiend of Een silently? Lu Ming said coldly. Of course. Leave it to us. I love this kind of thing the most. Bubbles and Dandan nodded. Especially Dandan, his smile was treacherous and cold. The group discussed and perfected the details. Then Dandan set up a concealment array on Lu Ming and Bubbles. After the array was completed, Lu Ming sent Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Dandan and the others back into the ancient ring. He and Bubbles returned to the vicinity of the Chi Meridians silently. The king of the evil ectoplasm had returned. The evil race rearranged themselves around the Chi Meridians, ready to grab the immortal crystals and immortal stones that flew out of the Chi Meridians. Kill those who are attacking the array first. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubbles. Bubbles nodded. Wrapping Lu Ming with the power of time and space, the two of them charged toward the evil race. Bubbles' cultivation had reached the 9th tier Divine Lord realm, so his control over the power of time and space had improved. His comprehension of the two origin ancient words, time and space, had deepened. They traveled through the void as though they were in another world, but also as though they were traveling between the past and the future. When they got close, the evil race didn't notice. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Suddenly Lu Ming attacked, thrusting his spear 3 times in a row. 3 beams of spear light shot toward 3 evil race experts. He hadn't sent out more spear lights because he was afraid that the power would be scattered and he wouldn't be able to kill them in one strike. Lu Ming was confident that he could kill them in one strike if he sent out 3 beams of spear light at once. The 3 evil race experts he was targeting were the 3 who had set up the array of 21. If he wanted to attack, he would naturally target the one who posed the greatest threat to him. And the 21 people's joint attack formation was undoubtedly the greatest threat to him. Be careful. Gaishak sensed Lu Ming's attack the moment he attacked. With a furious roar, he charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. The evil Yin race experts who had set up the array also sensed it. However, setting up a joint attack formation required time. Although the time required was very short, it would still require time no matter how short it might be. Lu Ming suddenly attacked as he approached. His speed was so fast that it was too late for them to set up the array of combined attacks. Buff, buff. Lu Ming pierced the skulls of the 3 experts from the malevolent Yin clan. The terrifying destructive power crushed them into pieces, killing the 3 experts from the malevolent Yin clan. A skull hung from each of their bodies. These skulls were the carriers of the array of combined attacks. Lu Ming waved his hand and put away the 3 skulls. The other evil Yin race experts were shocked and frantically retreated. As for Gaishak, he charged over and struck with a terrifying blow. Swoosh! Lu Ming retreated quickly. Beside him, bubbles circulated the spacetime energy to wrap around Lu Ming. In an instant, the 2 of them quickly retreated silently. The evil Yin race did not even see Lu Ming and Bubbles' shadows. The spacetime energy. It's Lu Ming. Damn it, damn it. Gaishak roared furiously, his face ferocious. A combined attack of 21 had lost 3 people just like that. Most importantly, the carriers of the 3 combined attacks had been taken away by Lu Ming. He could send people to replace them after they died. As long as they were trained for a period of time, the combined attacks could still operate. However, the loss of the carriers meant that the array of combined attacks was as good as useless. It was extremely difficult to replace the carriers of the array of combined attacks. The price to pay was also shocking. He was furious and wished he could cut Lu Ming into pieces. Set up the array. Be careful not to scatter. Gaishak continued to roar. Chapter 49:11. The Fiend Yin race members began to set up their joint attack formations. 7-man joint attack formations, 9-man joint attack formations, 12-man joint attack formations. All the way up to 21 joint attack formations. The living beings of the Forbidden Lands have an astonishing foundation. So many joint attack formations. In the distance, Lu Ming and Bubbles stood in the dark, observing the Fiend Yin race members' reactions. Just over 2,000 Fiend Yin race members had set up close to 30 joint attack formations. Of course, most of them were 7-man or 9-man joint attack formations, but this was already shocking enough. When 7 ordinary 9th-level Divine Masters set up a 7-man joint attack formation, their battle prowess would be comparable to that of the strongest Heavenly Lords. A 9-man joint attack formation was even stronger. If all the people setting up the formation were peak Divine Masters, a 9-man joint attack formation would be comparable to several experts on the same level as the strongest Lord of Heaven. Not to mention the even stronger 12-man or 15-man joint attack formations. However, Lu Ming did not care about these joint attack arrays at all. The only thing that concerned Lu Ming and posed a threat to Lu Ming was the 21-man joint attack formation. There are actually 2 21-man joint attack formations. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. He was very shocked. When the Fiend Yin race had attacked him earlier, they had only deployed 2 21-man joint attack formations to attack him. Lu Ming had thought that there would only be 2 21-man joint attack formations among the 2,000 Fiend Yin race members. He hadn't expected that there would be 3 of them. There was still one that hadn't been set up. Lu Ming guessed that the Fiend Yin race members were most likely trying to hide their strength. After all, there was a lot of competition on the island right now. A hidden strength could play a decisive role at a critical moment. But now, the Fiend Yin race members couldn't care less about hiding their strength. If they continued to hide, they might be secretly killed by Lu Ming. Many combined attack arrays condensed Yin Fiend Ghost Kings of different sizes. They surveyed the surroundings. As long as Lu Ming appeared, they would give him a thunderous blow. But how could Lu Ming appear now? They can't keep defending in formation. Their strength will be exhausted. When their strength is exhausted, the formation will no longer be able to be maintained. That will be the time for us to strike. Lu Ming and Bubble communicated in secret. Time ticked by, but Lu Ming didn't appear. The Fiend Yin race members setting up the formation couldn't hold on much longer. This Lu Ming must be waiting for us to lose the formation to launch a sneak attack. Damn it, Gaishak was very smart. How could he not know what Lu Ming was thinking? Disperse the formation and gather together to defend. Remember, it's a 21-man combined attack formation. Hide in the middle. The Fiend Yin race members of the Fiend Yin race heard Fiend Yin race members. The Fiendine race, the formation, the Fiendine race Fiendine race. How naive of them to think of using this method to stop me. Don't they know that spacetime power can ignore space? Bubble chuckled. Then the spacetime power enveloped Lu Ming and himself. In a flash, he charged towards the Fiendine race members. The Fiendine race members forming a circle might be useful to others, but it was useless to living beings who were proficient in spacetime power. Lu Ming and Bubble appeared silently above the Fiendine race members. The battle god's spear stabbed out, and 3 spear radiances shot out towards 3 Fiendine race members. These 3 Fiendine race members were part of another 21 joint attack formation. Lu Ming, you're courting death. Gaishak had been hovering in the sky. Wisps of Fiendine chi seeped into the void as he observed every movement in the surroundings. Before Lu Ming made his move, Gaishak hadn't sensed it. However, once Lu Ming made his move, the minute energy fluctuations were immediately detected by Gaishak. Gaishak waved the black banner. 9 ferocious evil spirits roared as they charged towards Lu Ming. However, they were still one step too slow. Lu Ming used the sky-splitting form. 3 spear radiances were faster than flowing light. The 3 Fiendine race members he had chosen were only ordinary peak almighty masters. How could they dodge? The 3 spear radiances pierced through and killed the 3 Fiendine race members. As for Lu Ming and Bubbles, they were already tens of thousands of miles away at lightning speed. It's a pity that I only got 1 skull this time. However, it's enough. Lu Ming opened his palm. There was a pitch-black skull in his palm. He had wanted to take all 3, but Gaishak had acted too quickly. There was no time, so he had only taken 1. However, taking 1 was enough. The 21 joint attack formation was no longer perfect. Even if he found others to replace them, he could only set up a 21 joint attack formation. Lu Ming was no longer afraid of the imperfect 21 people combined attack array. This way, 2 of the Fiendine race's 21 joint attack formations had been destroyed by Lu Ming and Bubble. The other Fiendine race members were so frightened that they continued to set up their formations as though they were facing a great enemy. Damn it. Lu Ming, get out here. Get out here if you can and fight fair and square. Gaishak kept roaring. However, Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with him. Fight fair and square? Wasn't it laughable that the other party had used their joint attack formations to surround him and fight fair and square? How comfortable would it be to hide in the dark and launch a sneak attack? When the last 21 joint attack formation of the Fiendine race was destroyed, Lu Ming wouldn't be afraid no matter how many people there were. He now had a top-grade source-level divine weapon armor. Unless they were at the same level as him, it would be very difficult to break through his defense. No matter how many people there were, it would be useless. After roaring for a while, Gaishak seemed to know that Lu Ming wouldn't show up. He had no choice but to give up. Go, let's leave this place first. Gaishak roared and retreated in another direction with his men. He had no choice. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only leave first. If he continued to stay here, his joint attack formations would be destroyed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming was too difficult to deal with when combined with the power of time and space. I must find a chance to kill this Lu Ming. Otherwise the threat is too great. Gaishak kept roaring in his heart. Thinking of leaving? How decisive. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he quickly followed with Bubbles. However, the Fiendine race had been retreating in formation. Lu Ming didn't find a chance to attack. Of course, he could kill those Fiendine race members who couldn't form formations. However, it wouldn't be effective to kill more or less of these Fiendine race members. Instead, he would expose himself. It wasn't worth it. That is, after following for a while, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly narrowed. That was because there were many figures rushing in their direction. Fiendine chi filled the air. They were also Fiendine race members and there were a shocking number of them. There were almost 2,000 of them. There are so many Fiendine race members. It seems that many of them have awakened during this period. Lu Ming muttered with a grave expression. Chapter 49:12. Be careful, Infernal Fiend King. There's someone beside Lu Ming who's proficient in the power of spacetime. They're working together to launch sneak attacks. Be careful, he might break your combined attack formation. Gaishak shouted. Among the Balefulline beings behind him, there was a Balefulline being who looked to be in his 30s. His aura was the most terrifying. He was Infernal Fiend King. Set up the formation. Infernal Fiend King immediately ordered. The Balefulline beings under him immediately began to set up the formation. There were 2 combined attack formations of 21 people and some other combined attack formations. They formed baleful ghost kings that patrolled the area. Gaishak, looks like you've suffered a great loss, Infernal Fiend King said. He stood in the air and looked around. His powerful baleful chi seeped into the void like a spider web to capture Lu Ming's movements. Another terrifying expert. Lu Ming's expression was grave. This Infernal Fiend King was definitely in existence at the same level as Gaishak. The strength of the creatures in the Forbidden Lands was truly terrifying. Not only did they have many combined attack formations, but they also had a shocking number of terrifying experts. In the era where the origin did not appear, their combat strength was far above the Heavenly Human Tribe, Quasi-Saint Tribe, Evil Demons, and Heaven Destroyer. After all, the creatures in the Forbidden Lands were already a Forbidden Lands in the last era of the Eldritch Continent. Their foundation was too profound. Although the Heavenly Human Tribe and Evil Demons were also from the last era, they were only slaves of the Human Tribe. Their foundation was far from comparable to the creatures in the Forbidden Lands. Brother Lu Ming, what do you plan to do now? Continue to attack? Bubbles asked. No. Lu Ming shook his head and said, there are 2 invincible almighty existences. In addition, there are more than 10 existences who are comparable to the former king's envoy. If we attack and get surrounded, it will be difficult for us to escape. 2 invincible divine masters were enough to threaten Lu Ming's life. Furthermore, there were more than a dozen existences comparable to the Guangxin royal envoy. Although it would be difficult for powerhouses of this level to cause any substantial harm to Lu Ming, the sheer number of them was enough to interfere with his movements. In other words, it was enough to keep him occupied. Once he was tied down and the 2 invincible divine masters attacked, Lu Ming would be in grave danger. Not to mention there were so many joint attack formations. Let's observe them secretly and see where they're going. Lu Ming continued. After a while they did not find any traces of Lu Ming. Gaishak and the Infernal Spirit King discussed for a while before leading a large group of baleful beings towards the original meridian. They set up camp around the meridians. Gaishak and Infernal Fiend King were guarding the 2 sides. If there were any unusual movements, they would be able to provide support in an instant and form a joint attack. This gave Lu Ming no chance to make a move. Rumble. At this moment, the meridian shook violently. The intensity of the tremors was far greater than before. A giant fissure appeared on the island and large amounts of seawater poured in. However, the seawater was flushed out by the heavenly paradise divine light from the depths of the meridian and evaporated into mist. With the tremors, large amounts of immortal crystals and immortal stones flew out. The baleful beings immediately attacked. There were nearly 4,000 of them, all of them above the Divine Master realm. As they attacked together, baleful chi spread and swept in all directions, taking away all the immortal crystals and immortal stones. Lu Ming even saw quite a number of divine herbs flying out. Most of them were main divine herbs. However, Lu Ming also saw a stalk of source-level divine herb. All of them fell into the hands of the evil clan. Lu Ming found it a pity, but now was not the time to act. At this moment, a commotion broke out among the baleful beings. It's a top-origin grade divine herb. Don't let it get away. Many baleful people roared. Their baleful chi filled the air, forming many giant hands or interweaving into many giant nets, enveloping a certain area. Swish! A streak of light suddenly shot out of that area with astonishing speed. A top-origin grade divine herb. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he immediately looked in that direction. A divine herb in the shape of a lingji mushroom with roots like feet shot into the distance like a streak of light. It really is a top-origin grade divine herb. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Clearly, this top-origin grade divine herb had rushed out from the depths of the meridian. I can't miss it. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. A origin grade divine herb of this level was absolutely precious. A peak divine master could use it to break through to the reciprocity realm. Lu Ming's group had obtained one from the meridian with the 4 statues. That top-origin grade divine herb had pretended to be a heavenly paradise divine beast and scared off the Yi Immortal. In the end, it had fallen into Lu Ming's hands and was now not obediently staying in the primitive ring. In that Qi meridian, Lu Ming only discovered 1 stalk of source-level divine medicine of this level. It was very likely that there was only 1 origin grade divine herb in the entire meridian. An origin grade divine herb of this level was no different from a living being. It could even cultivate on its own and complete its evolution. Even 100 ordinary origin grade divine herbs wouldn't be able to give birth to an origin grade divine herb of this level. The baleful Yin beings were extremely tempted by such a top-origin grade divine herb and they all chased after it. Gaishak and the Infernal Fiend King were the fastest as they chased after the top-origin grade divine herb. They released a large amount of baleful Yin chi to surround it. However, the speed of a origin grade divine herb of this level was extremely shocking. Back in the origin grade divine mountain, they had discovered a few origin grade divine herbs, but whether it was the quasi-immortal tribe, the heavenly human tribe or Lu Ming's group, none of them had been able to catch them. The previous origin grade divine herb was careless and had transformed into a heavenly abode, thinking that it had scared Lu Ming and the others. In the end, it had approached the Chaos Ring and was captured by Lu Ming, Dandan and Bubbles. The origin grade divine herb, which looked like a Ganoderma lucidum, flashed a few times and shuttled through the void, avoiding Gaishak and the Infernal Fiend King's attacks as it rapidly moved forward. Everyone get into formation and be on guard. Chase! The king of the evil ectoplasm shouted. His body did not stop as he chased after the top origin grade divine herb. The other baleful Yin beings got into formation. Even at this time, they were still worried about Lu Ming's sneak attack and were on guard. Initially, Lu Ming really had this intention. He wanted to take the opportunity to destroy the other party's joint attack array. However, upon seeing this, he knew that there was no chance. Hence he did not make a move. Instead, he chased in the direction where the top-notch source-level divine medicine had escaped. Gaishak and the Infernal Fiend King chased after it. The baleful Yin beings were known for their speed. No matter how fast the origin grade divine herb was, it couldn't shake them off. At this rate they would catch up to it sooner or later. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he pondered over how to snatch the origin grade divine herb from Gaishak and the Infernal Fiend King. Just like that, he crossed a large distance in the blink of an eye. It's the primordial light race. Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes flickered. A large number of figures appeared in front of him. Their hair was fluttering in the wind. Who else could it be but the primordial light race? Chapter 49-13. Lu Ming and the others, who had been chasing after the top-notch source-grade divine medicine for a long time, seemed to have reached the vicinity of another meridian and encountered a large number of primordial light tribe members. Lu Ming glanced over and realized that there were at least 3,000 primordial light tribe members. The total number of people that Yuan Baji and Yuan Jiuji had brought with them had only been a few hundred. Furthermore, Lu Ming immediately saw that Yuan Baji and Yuan Jiuji were among this group of people. However, the two of them were standing respectfully beside the other two youths. They no longer had the arrogant aura that they had used to have. Who's there? It's a top-notch source-grade divine medicine. The members of the primordial light tribe also noticed the top-notch source-grade sacred medicine immediately. Their eyes were burning with passion. A top-notch source-grade divine medicine was priceless and couldn't be measured by immortal stones. Fifth brother, sixth brother, it's the malevolent Yin tribe. Yuan Jiuji, who was in the primordial light tribe, said softly. Who cares who it is? It's a top-notch source-grade divine medicine. Since we have encountered it, we can't miss it. Attack and surround the divine medicine. A young primordial light tribe member shouted. His voice reverberated throughout the area. This person was Yuan Jiuji and Yuan Baji's fifth brother. His name was Yuan Wuji. Following Yuan Wuji's order, all the members of the primordial light tribe made their move. Countless beams of light shot out from their heads and rapidly grew in length. They intertwined in the air and formed an inescapable net that enveloped the top-grade source-grade divine medicine. The source-grade divine medicine immediately changed direction and rushed in another direction. However, a large number of beams of light also appeared in that direction. More than 3,000 primordial light tribe members made their move together and the beams of light covered a large area. No matter which direction the source-grade divine medicine rushed in, it was useless. This source-grade divine medicine belongs to the malevolent Yin tribe. Get out of my way, primordial light tribe members. Gaishak shouted as he waved his black banner. 9 malevolent evil spirits rushed towards the primordial light tribe members in an attempt to break the inescapable net formed by the beams of light. At the same time, Infernal Fiend Lord also made his move, unleashing a terrifying attack. But at that moment, 2 silhouettes appeared in front of Mr. Evil Ectoplasm and Mr. Evil Ectoplasm. Their bodies were like rays of light. They continuously released a dozen rays of light which blocked Mr. Evil Ectoplasm and Mr. Evil Ectoplasm's attacks. One was Yuan Wuji and the other was Yuan Liuji. The primordial light tribe had 9 great princes, each more powerful than the last. Every one of them was a stunning genius. Relatively speaking, the three people after the 7th, 8th, and 9th were the least talented. Since the source-grade elixir has come to us, it's ours. Please leave, said Yi Futian. Yuan Wuji sneered. Bullshit. Yuan Wuji, get out of my way. Gaishak roared as he continuously waved the black banner and launched terrifying attacks. However, they were all blocked by Yuan Wuji. On the other side, Infernal Fiend King was also blocked by Yuan Liuji. This is not good. If this continues, the source-grade sacred medicine will fall into the hands of the primordial light tribe. Lu Ming's face darkened. He didn't want to see the source-grade sacred medicine fall into the hands of either side. Whoosh! Lu Ming and Bubbles silently appeared not far from the inescapable net. Then they executed the sky-breaking form and stabbed their spear with all their might. A huge spear radiance burst forth and pierced the intertwining light strands. Rumble. The light strands trembled violently before exploding one after another. In the end, a huge gap was created. We're in the wrong direction. Through the gap, Lu Ming could see that the source-grade sacred medicine was in another direction. It was still quite far away, so it was too late for him to seize the opportunity to rush out of the gap. Only by creating a gap near the source-grade sacred medicine could the source-grade sacred medicine take the opportunity to rush out. However, Lu Ming's move was discovered by the primordial light tribe. It's Lu Ming. Damn it. Set up the array and kill him. Yuan Baji and Yuan Joji shouted angrily. Suddenly, the primordial light tribe's figures flashed and two 21 people combined attack arrays were set up. A saber and a sword slashed toward Lu Ming. Whoosh! The bubble enveloped Lu Ming with the power of time and space. In a flash they were far away. They avoided the two combined attack arrays and appeared on the other side. They weren't far from the source-grade sacred medicine on the other side. Boom! Lu Ming thrusted his spear again, piercing the defensive wall that was intertwined with light beams and hair, piercing a big hole in this area. The source-grade sacred medicine inside seized the opportunity and rushed out. Bubbles, do it! Lu Ming shouted. This was the best time to make a move. He would let Bubbles use the power of time and space to take the source-grade sacred medicine. Leave it to me. Oh no, be careful. Bubbles suddenly shouted. A saber and a sword slashed toward Lu Ming from both sides with terrifying power. It was the 21 people combined attack array of the primordial light tribe. The combined attack array of the primordial light tribe's combined attack array was very powerful and fast. This had something to do with the special attributes of the primordial light tribe. The sword chi and saber radiance surged, making it difficult for Bubbles' power of time and space to reach the source-grade sacred medicine. The source-grade sacred medicine took the opportunity to rush into the distance. Lu Ming, on the other hand, used the primeval style and the heaven-breaking style to block the combined attack of the saber and sword. Let's go! Lu Ming bellowed. Seizing the opportunity, Bubbles brought Lu Ming along and disappeared in a flash. They appeared thousands of miles away and dashed toward the stalk of source-level divine herb. After them? That's Lu Ming. Gaishak, Yuan Wuji and the others roared and stopped fighting. They rushed toward Lu Ming and the source-grade sacred medicine. Lu Ming pushed his speed to the limit. With Bubbles' help, his speed was even faster than Gaishak and the others. He even surpassed the source-grade sacred medicine. He was getting closer and closer to the source-grade sacred medicine. It wouldn't take long for him to catch up. Right at this moment, a sudden change occurred. In front of the source-grade divine herb, a light barrier suddenly appeared and enveloped the source-grade divine herb. This light shield was as big as a bowl. It was transparent and huge. It suddenly appeared in front of the source-grade sacred medicine and it was too late for it to dodge. With a clang, the source-grade sacred medicine was enveloped by the light shield. The source-grade sacred medicine crashed into the light shield, but it didn't budge. Although the source-grade sacred medicine's speed was very fast, its offensive power was very ordinary. It wasn't proportional to its speed at all. After the light shield enveloped the source-grade sacred medicine, it trembled slightly and tried to fly away. Bubbles used the power of time and space to control the light shield, but the light shield shook and broke the power of time and space. Boom! Lu Ming struck out with his palm. A huge palm formed and pressed down on the light shield like a mountain, suppressing it and making it difficult for it to fly away. In the next moment, a figure appeared above the light shield. Ye Immortal. Chapter 49-14. Ye Immortal appeared above the light barrier. It was obvious that the light barrier had been created by Ye Immortal. No one knew if Ye Immortal was right in front of them, or if he had been hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Upon seeing Yi Immortal, Lu Ming thrust out his spear without hesitation. Swish! An incomparably sharp spear light pierced through the void and pierced towards Yi Wuxia. Its speed was shockingly fast. Yi Immortal had no choice but to block the attack. He slashed out with his sword and a star appeared in the air. When it collided with the spear light, it exploded, creating a destructive force. Lu Ming's spear light was blocked. The battle god's spear buzzed, and Yi Immortal's figure was jolted back several steps. Lu Ming stepped into the air and charged towards Yi Immortal. He thrust out his palm and a continent was formed. Sword of the Heavens, Destruction of the Sun. Yi Immortal continued to execute his Genesis technique. A great sun appeared and endless sword light appeared. It pierced through the air and resisted Lu Ming's desolation style. Not only that, but many sword lights pierced towards Lu Ming and Bubbles. Bubbles entered the desolation ring first. Lu Ming activated the desolation ring, and Bubbles' figure disappeared into the desolation ring in a flash. Although Bubble had reached the 9th tier Divine Master realm and was much stronger than before, there was still a huge gap between it and an existence like Yi Wuxia. In the face of Yi Wuxia's attack, it could not block it at all. Lu Ming had to split his attention to protect it. Lu Ming had to go all out against an expert of the same level as Yi Immortal. He couldn't afford to be distracted. Hence, letting Bubbles enter the desolation ring was the best choice. After Bubbles entered the desolation ring, Lu Ming went all out and exchanged a few blows with Yi Immortal. Gaishak, the Infernal Fiend King, and Yuanlu Jiuji were about to arrive. Lu Ming and Yi Immortal were getting a little anxious. By the time those people arrived, Lu Ming and Yi Immortal would not be able to get their hands on the source-grade elixir. At this moment, Yi Immortal suddenly shouted, "Lu Ming, don't you want your friend's head anymore?" As soon as he said those words, he waved his hand, and the dozen or so heads flew into the distance. At the same time, there were more than 10 streams of energy attacking the heads. If they were hit, it was obvious that these heads would definitely explode. It's them. At the sight of the dozen heads, Lu Ming's heart trembled wildly. Lu Ming recognized the dozen or so heads. They were clearly the dozen or so experts from the Heaven Exterminating Army. Some of them were even very familiar with Lu Ming. Previously, when Lu Ming and Heaven Destroyer parted ways, these people were clearly still alive. There was only one explanation. After Lu Ming and the others left, Heaven Destroyer's people encountered Yi Immortal. It was certain that the Heaven Destroyer had encountered the Yi Immortal, but what had happened? Had Lion, Tang Jian, Gu Changfeng, and the others also died at the hands of Yi Immortal? Lu Ming was in no mood to continue fighting. He only wanted to shake off Yuan Wuji and Lord of the Underworld so that he could investigate the Heaven Destroyer's situation. However, it was not that easy to shake off two people of the same level. In the end, Lu Ming took a blow from the Nether Spirit King head-on. With the help of the blow, he flew out of the encirclement of the Nether Spirit King and Yuan Wuji. However, Lu Ming also paid a price. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and was severely injured. After all, it was difficult to block all the attacks of an invincible almighty even with a top-notch source-level weapon. However, things were easier now that he had broken out of the encirclement. Bubbles appeared from the Chaos Ring in time and enveloped Lu Ming with her space-time power. Lu Ming's speed increased tremendously and he surpassed Yuan Wuji and Lord of the Underworld. After a while, Lu Ming successfully shook off Yuan Wuji and Lord of the Underworld and arrived at a more remote place. Lu Ming and Bubbles entered the Chaos Ring and told them about the Heaven Destroyer's possible encounter with the Yi Immortal. How did this happen? Tang Jun's face was pale. Among them, Tang Jun was the one who had the deepest relationship with the Heaven Destroyer. Although Xian Yanqing was also a reincarnation, his memory and personality were mainly Xian Yanqing's. Although they had the same memories, they were still different from Tang Jun in terms of emotions. Don't panic. What Yi Wuxia said might not be true. Maybe he did encounter it and some of them died but not all of them died. Maybe Yi Wuxia only killed 10 or so people. Gu Mo comforted him. Truth be told, the heavenly abode light that rushed out of the 9 meridians was no longer very dense. If Lu Ming and the others relied on the armor refined by Dandan and Bubbles, they should be able to charge in if they were careful. But they didn't dare. Because he was afraid of the Grotto Heaven Beast in his meridians. Even though they speculated that the ancient city's formation was constantly absorbing the energy and paradise divine light from the 9 meridians, It should be very difficult for the Meridians to condense a Paradise Divine Beast. However, they didn't have the confidence. They couldn't be sure. What if there was a Paradise Divine Beast in the Meridians? If that happened, they would all be wiped out. Just in case, it was better to wait. The creatures of the Forbidden Lands were the same. Those top elites didn't dare to go in. They continued to wait. What Lu Ming and the others didn't know was that a storm was brewing on the island. The initiator of this storm was the Yuanguang clan. The leaders of the Yuanguang clan, Yuanguang Wuji, Yuanguang Liuji, Yuanguang Qiji, Yuanguang Baji, and Yuanguang Joji sent a message to the Blue Sea clan and the Baleful Yin clan at the same time, inviting them to discuss something important. Near a certain meridian, the elites of the Yuanguang clan, the Baleful Yin clan, and the Blue Sea clan gathered at the same time. Yuanguang Wuji, Yuanguang Liuji, you said you wanted to discuss something important. Can you tell me what it is now? Gaishak asked from the Baleful Yin clan. He looked at Yuanguang Wuji, Yuanguang Liuji, and Yuanguang Liuji with a fierce look. Not long ago, Yuanguang Liuji and Yuanguang Liuji had competed with them for the top source-level divine medicine. If they hadn't competed, the other sects wouldn't have failed, and the source-level divine medicine wouldn't have fallen into the hands of the Yi Immortal. It would be strange if Gaishak's expression were good. Beside Gaishak, the Infernal Fiend Lord's expression wasn't good either. On the other side were the people of the Blue Sea clan. The leaders of the Blue Sea clan were also very young. There were 2 young men and a young woman. The 3 of them were the princes and princesses of the Blue Sea clan. They looked at the Yuanguang clan and the Baleful Yin clan with interest, as if they couldn't wait for the 2 clans to fight. I've gathered all of you here to kill someone, Yuanguang Liuji said coldly. Ha! When Gaishak heard this, he immediately burst into laughter. He laughed so hard that tears almost came out of his eyes. Kill someone? You want to gather all 3 clans together? Yuan Liuji, you're too ridiculous. Gaishak laughed. I'm curious, who is the person you want to kill? A young man from the Blue Sea clan looked at Yuanguang Liuji and asked. This person was a prince of the Blue Sea clan. He was known as Prince Kanglo. Lu Ming. Yuanguang Liuji's cold voice sounded. It must be eliminated, Yuan Wuji whispered. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. That's right. If we want to achieve our goals, we must eliminate the power of the universe. Infernal Spirit Lord also said. Indeed, this person must be eliminated. Prince Kanglo also said. So Lu Ming is our common enemy. Our goal is the same. What's wrong with us working together? Yi Immortal said. Of course we can work together. Why don't you tell me how you can lure Lu Ming out? Yuan Wuji said. When I met Lu Ming earlier, I threw 12 heads at him. They were all Heaven Destroyer's men. Lu Ming must be very eager to know what happened to the Heaven Destroyer's men. I think he must be very eager to find me now. Now, I just need to send a message to the entire island and challenge Lu Ming to a battle. If he wants to know what happened to the Heaven Destroyer's men, he can only agree to fight me. The Immortal said. The eyes of the others lit up. Then we can work together to kill Lu Ming at the place you agreed to fight. Infernal Spirit Lord added. That's not enough. Yi Wuchang shook his head and said, anyone who can obtain the power of the universe is a person with great luck. This kind of person has great luck and is extremely difficult to kill. Therefore, in order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, it's best to set up an origin-level array. I believe that with the foundation of your race, it shouldn't be difficult to set up a simple origin-level array. My race has brought some bones of origin realm experts. It won't be difficult to set up a simple source-level formation with the bones of origin realm experts as the foundation. It'll just take time. Yuan Wuji said. My race also has some bones of origin realm experts. If we work together, the speed of setting up the formation will increase greatly. My race can help too. The Infernal Spirit Lord and Prince Kanglo said one after another. Alright, then let's decide on the location. Yi Immortal said. Immediately, they began to discuss the specific details. It had been 3 days since Bubble left. Lu Ming and the others hid in the concealment formation and cultivated in peace. Lu Ming, suddenly a voice rang out from the sky. It was like a thunderclap that spread out in all directions. That's Yi Immortal's voice. Lu Ming and the others narrowed their eyes and could not help but look at the sky. With Lu Ming and the others' eyesight, they could see millions of kilometers away if there were no obstructions. As a result, they saw a figure hovering in the sky. It was Yi Immortal. Lu Ming, I know you can hear me. Ye Immortal continued to speak. With Ye Immortal's cultivation, his voice could be heard from every corner of the island. Don't you want to know the fate of the other members of the Heaven Exterminating Troop? I'll give you a chance. 300,000 miles northeast of the ancient city, let's fight. If you can defeat me, I'll tell you about the Heaven Exterminating Troop. Remember, the time is 3 days later. After Yi Wuxia finished speaking, his figure flashed and disappeared from the high altitude. Ye Immortal actually challenged Lu Ming. This is strange. I'm afraid it's a trap. Xian Yinqing said solemnly. Ye Immortal seems to have come to this island alone. What tricks can he play? Dandan said. I'm afraid he's working with the creatures of the Forbidden Grounds. Xian Yinqing was still worried. Ye Immortal stole the top source-level divine medicine of the creatures of the Forbidden Grounds. They have a grudge against each other. How can they work together? Dandan disagreed. This is too strange. We have to be careful. Guamo said and then looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, what do you think? We have to go. But we have to be prepared. Dandan will need your help again. Lu Ming said. He explained his plan and started to make arrangements. 3 days later, Lu Ming set off alone and headed 300,000 kilometers northeast of the ancient city. Lu Ming knew that there was a huge mountain there. It was the location of the battle. However, Lu Ming was blocked by someone before he could reach the mountain. It was someone from the CC tribe. Let me tell you, the formation set up by the Bones of Reciprocity experts is extremely profound. It covers an extremely wide area. Even if you're prepared, it'll be very difficult for you to resist it. However, some of the origin energy bones in the formation were given to you by me. I have a way to interfere with the formation and stop it from operating. Is that enough? Princess Zhangxian said. Oh, what condition do you want me to agree to? If it's too much, then we don't have to cooperate. Lu Ming said. He was going to the Yi Immortal to find out more about the Heaven Destroyer. However, the situation had changed. The Yi Immortal had cooperated with the creatures of the 3 great forbidden lands and had even set up in source-level formation. His trip would be very dangerous. He could choose not to go and wait for Bubble to come back from her investigation. Of course, if the danger level was low, it was not impossible for him to go. For example, what Princess Zhangxian said was true. She could really stop the source-level formation from operating. Don't worry. My condition is very simple. You only need to agree to help me once in the Purple Heaven Paradise. Princess Zhangxian said. Help you once? That's fine. Lu Ming nodded. He only needed to help once. Once there was danger, he would retreat in time. Our cultivation hasn't reached reciprocity yet, so we're still bound by the oath of origin energy. How about we both swear on our life essences? Princess Zhangxian said. Sure. Lu Ming nodded. Immediately, the two of them swore on their life essences. Only then did the two of them relax. Before leaving, Princess Zhangxian revealed a meaningful smile. Why does this woman's smile give me a familiar feeling? It's like I've seen it before. Looking at Princess Zhangxian's disappearing figure, Lu Ming frowned slightly. However, he was sure that this was the first time he had met Princess Zhangxian. Why did he have such a feeling? Could it be that he had met too many beautiful women, and they all had the same feeling? Shaking his head, Lu Ming continued to head towards the location of the battle. Just as he was about to approach the location of the battle, Lu Ming's body suddenly glowed and emitted runes. Then another Lu Ming separated from Lu Ming's body. This was the backup plan that Lu Ming had asked Dandan to set up. Using a drop of Lu Ming's blood and a formation to refine a clone. Although it was not as strong as Lu Ming, it had the same presence as Lu Ming. Dandan had already used this method before. Lu Ming's formation clone continued to head towards the location of the battle, while Lu Ming's real body disappeared from the spot. Lu Ming flew into the sky, concealed his body, and headed towards the location of the battle. From afar he saw a mountain peak. On top of the mountain peak, a figure stood in the air. It was Yi Immortal. The formation clone stepped towards the mountain peak. Yi Immortal, tell me what happened to the people of Heaven Destroyer? The formation clone asked. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to really come. Very well, I'll send you on your way to reunite with the people of Heaven Destroyer. Yi Immortal sneered and suddenly retreated rapidly. After Yi Immortal retreated, a terrifying presence suddenly erupted from the surroundings of the mountain peak. Then pieces of bones flew out from the mountain peak. These bones were of different shapes. Some resembled arm bones, some resembled ribs, and some resembled leg bones. Every piece of bone was exuding a powerful origin energy. Countless runes filled the air, linking the power of these bones together to form a large formation. This large formation enveloped Lu Ming within it. "Ye immortal, you asked me to fight. Is this what you call a battle?" Lu Ming's formation clone sneered. "You and I belong to two different forces. This is a battle between two forces, not a personal grudge. Lu Ming, be on your way." Ye immortal shouted coldly and waved his hand. Suddenly the formation was activated. A terrifying energy burst out and rushed towards Lu Ming's rune clone. With a bang, Lu Ming's rune doppelganger exploded and turned into a drop of blood. This drop of blood was completely annihilated under the terrifying energy. "It's a clone." Yi Wuxia's expression suddenly changed, becoming very gloomy. Previously, the aura of the formation clone was exactly the same as Lu Ming's aura. Ye immortal couldn't tell at all. "We've been tricked. It's Lu Ming's clone. Lu Ming's real body must be nearby. Use all your strength to activate the origin level formation and envelop him." Ye immortal shouted. Regardless of whether it was the Light King's emissary, or the War Emissary, they were all subordinates of the Light Controller, and obeyed his orders. In the past, when Lu Ming fought with Yuan Jiuji used a move called Destructive Immortal Light. However, that was not the real Destructive Immortal Light. Instead, it was condensed by a secret skill. It was worlds apart from the real Destructive Immortal Light. Again? I can't be bothered to entertain you. As soon as Lu Ming spoke, he transformed into an aurora and dashed in another direction. If Yuan Wuji had been alone, Lu Ming would have really wanted to fight him to the death. However, the Yi Immortal was chasing after him, and there were also those joint attack arrays. There were also many other experts hiding in the dark. Why would Lu Ming want to tangle with Yuan Wuji? "You can't escape." Lu Ming had just flown a short distance when he heard a cold voice in front of him. Thereafter, a sinister aura soared into the sky like a tsunami, charging toward Lu Ming. It was Gaishak. He had blocked Lu Ming's path. Boom. Lu Ming cast the primeval style and struck out a piece of land in front of him. His figure swayed and he dashed out from another direction. However, another figure appeared in that direction. It was Yuan Liuji. Lu Ming's heart was heavy. It seemed that these top-notch experts had already surrounded him in all directions, blocking his escape route. "Then I'll rush over." Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he rushed towards Yuan Liuji. He wanted to break through from Yuan Liuji's side. "Black Moon Divine Light." Yuan Liuji's cold voice sounded as a beam of light appeared in his body. This beam of light was dark and also emitted a terrifying fluctuation. It wasn't any weaker than Yuan Liuji's red celestial light. With the Black Moon Divine Light, Yuan Liuji's combat strength reached the level of an invincible divine master. He exchanged a blow with Lu Ming and blocked Lu Ming's charging figure. At the same time, Yi Immortal, Yuan Liuji, Gaishak, and even Pluto Lord appeared from the other side and attacked Lu Ming. 5 invincible Divine Master experts attacked Lu Ming together. Their power was earth-shattering. On a mountain peak not far away, 2 young figures stood there. These 2 people were the 2 princes of the Zhangming race. They were peerless experts among the Divine Masters and were at the level of an invincible Divine Master. Prince Kanglo was one of them. "Let's attack and take down Lu Ming in one fell swoop." Prince Kanglo said. "My 2 brothers, please wait." Suddenly a voice sounded. Then a slim figure appeared. This figure was none other than Princess Zhangxian. Zhangxian. The 2 princes of the Zhangming race looked at Princess Zhangxian with burning eyes. The princes and princesses of the Zhangming race weren't siblings. Chapter 49-21. Gu Changfeng unleashed a terrifying punch that collided with Yi Immortal's Genesis technique. An earth-shattering boom erupted as a powerful shockwave swept out in all directions. In the end, both Yi Immortal and Gu Changfeng shuddered and retreated a few steps. They were evenly matched. Amazing, it's a Genesis technique. Senior Gu Changfeng can actually use a Genesis technique. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Given his current eyesight, he could naturally tell that Gu Changfeng had just used a Genesis technique. In the past, Gu Changfeng could not use Genesis techniques. He had previously consulted Gu Changfeng and discussed the mysteries of the cultivation of taboo power with him. Therefore, he was quite familiar with Gu Changfeng's cultivation. Gu Changfeng was extremely talented. He was only a pinnacle almighty, but he already had a vague understanding of Genesis techniques and had touched the outline of them. However, he had only touched the outline and was still very far from truly comprehending them, let alone using Genesis techniques at the pinnacle almighty level. However, not long after, Gu Changfeng had not only comprehended them but could also use them. Could it be that Gu Changfeng had comprehended them under the 4 statues? Lu Ming immediately thought of the 4 statues. Lu Ming had comprehended the 3000th ancient secret technique under the 4 statues. Given Gu Changfeng's talent, it was normal for him to be able to comprehend Genesis techniques. Gu Changfeng's battle strength was equivalent to Prince Guanxian's when he did not know any Genesis techniques. Now that he had comprehended and used Genesis techniques, it was not impossible for his battle strength to reach the level of an invincible almighty. Yi Immortal also relied on Genesis techniques to achieve this level of battle strength. One had to admit that Gu Changfeng's talent was extremely terrifying. He was one of the top taboo physiques in the past. If he could break through to the origin realm in the future, his future achievements would most likely be on par with Fei Huang, the master of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court and the master of the Primordial Divine Court. In fact, there were very few people in history who could use Genesis techniques at the pinnacle almighty level. Yi Immortal was an exception. He was the reincarnation of the strongest patriarch in the history of the heavenly human race and had rich experience. There were very few people in history who could use Genesis techniques at the Divine Master stage who were not reincarnated. At least in this era there weren't many. Even Yuan Wuji, Yuan Liuji, Gaishak, Infernal Fiend Lord and the others didn't know how to use Genesis arts. They relied on their talents and other powers. For example, Yuan Wuji and Yuan Liuji relied on the Red Scorch Immortal Light and the Black Moon Immortal Light to reach the invincible Godmaster level. Chapter 49-22. However, those who knew a little about the ancestral demon blood crystal could tell. Zixin had just merged with the ancestral demon blood crystal and was still in the early stages, so she couldn't control it well. The energy of the ancestral demon blood crystal was constantly seeping out of her body. I've merged with the ancestral demon blood crystal and will become your greatest enemy. Are you disappointed? Zixin said coldly with great confidence in her eyes. In the past, in her eyes, Yi Wuxia was an enemy that was difficult to defeat. He was too high to reach and the distance between them was too far. But now Yi Immortal was no longer undefeatable in Zixin's eyes. He was on the same level as her. In fact, given enough time she might not even put Yi Wuxian in her eyes. After merging with the ancestral demon blood crystal, her potential was limitless. The demon ancestor blood crystal was an unquestionable supreme treasure of the demon race. It was simply too mysterious and contained boundless energy. She had only merged with the ancestral demon blood crystal successfully, but her cultivation had skyrocketed to the peak of the Divine Master realm. She had directly ignored the barrier between the 9th and the peak of the Divine Master realm. Disappointed? Aha, why would I be disappointed? I should be happy because we have a common enemy. The Immortal laughed. Common enemy? Are you talking about the creatures of the Forbidden Grounds? Zixin glanced at Gaishak and the other 3 experts. Gaishak, Lord of the Underworld, Yuan Wuji, and Yuan Liuji were also a little confused. They didn't know what Yi Immortal wanted to do. However, they did not take action. This was because Yi Wuxia had sent them a voice transmission previously, telling them not to be in a hurry to take action. All they had to do was to surround the Lu Ming trio. He had a plan to cause internal strife among the Lu Ming trio. No, our common enemy is them, Lu Ming and Gu Changfeng. Yi Immortal pointed at Lu Ming. Ridiculous. Zixin sneered with a hint of mockery. He was trying to sow discord between them. That was too low level. You don't know Lu Ming's background, do you? You don't know the origin of the forbidden power, do you? If you knew, you wouldn't find it ridiculous. Do you know why the forbidden body is the mortal enemy of the heavenly human race? Yi Immortal said. What? Zixin couldn't help asking. He was not the only one. Gu Changfeng and Lu Ming were also curious. They also wanted to know why the forbidden body was the mortal enemy of the heavenly human race. The forbidden bodies and the heavenly human race's mortal enemy. Therefore, in history, the forbidden body and the heavenly human race. The life spirit was the master of the heavenly court, the master of the primordial divine court, the taboo sword ancestor, and the immeasurable heavenly demon. That's because the taboo power is actually the power of the cosmos. It's a power that the cosmos created in order to protect itself. As the leader of the demon royal family, you should know very well that you demons and us heavenly humans are not creatures of this universe. In this universe we will be suppressed by it. The stronger the forbidden body is, the stronger the suppression of the heavenly human race will be. Conversely, the suppression of the heavenly human race will be weaker. As a result, if we want to develop, we need to get rid of the forbidden body. Otherwise, the more powerful the forbidden body becomes, the weaker its suppression on us becomes. It'll become more and more difficult for us to cultivate, and it'll become more and more difficult for us to break through. In particular, the suppression will become even stronger once we reach reciprocity, which will drastically reduce our battle prowess. So, do you think Lu Ming and Gu Changfeng are our common enemies? Yi Immortal explained. What? Yi Immortal's words were like a clap of thunder that exploded in Lu Ming's heart. The forbidden body was the power of the heavenly human race. It was the first time he had heard of it. Also, the heavenly human race and the demons were not creatures of this universe. What did that mean? Were there other universes other than this one? The forbidden body is the power of the heavenly human race. How is that possible? Zixin murmured to herself. Her face was filled with shock and doubt. At the sight of Zixin's expression, Lu Ming was certain that at least a part of what Yi Wuxia said was true. Demons were really not living creatures of this universe. At the same time, countless thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. The heavenly human race was extremely talented, surpassing the other races in the universe. They were almost invincible in a battle of the same level. Of course, this referred to the other races in the universe, except for the creatures of the forbidden body. However, after reaching the origin realm, the heavenly human race's origin realm was much weaker. They seemed to be weaker than the other races in the universe. The Heaven Destroyer's origin realm and the heavenly human race's origin realm had clashed more than once. Lu Ming did not understand before, but he did now. If what Yi Immortal said was true, then everything made sense. The heavenly human race was not creatures of this universe and was suppressed by this universe. So, this little girl isn't from this universe. Then she's on the same side as us. Little girl, let's attack together. Let's destroy these two taboo bodies. We don't want them to grow and suppress us even more. Yuan Wuji said. Lu Ming and Gu Changfeng's eyes narrowed. What did he mean? Did Yuan Wuji mean that the Yuanguang race, the malevolent Yin race, and the Tsangming race were not creatures of this universe? However, didn't the creatures of the forbidden body already exist in the untainted continent in the last era? How did they become creatures of this universe? How many secrets were hidden in this universe? I don't believe you. You are just trying to sow discord. Zixin shook her head. Zixin, everything I said is true. If I lie, then I will never be able to transcend and become an immortal. You better think carefully. Letting them grow is not your problem alone. It will be a disaster for the fiend demon race. You demons will be suppressed more and more in the future, and it will be harder for you to cultivate. Sooner or later your race will be wiped out. Yi Immortal said. Lu Ming and Gu Changfeng looked at each other and took a step back secretly to put some distance between them and Zixin. They were also prepared to defend themselves. If what Yi Immortal said was true, then they were indeed enemies with Zixin. Moreover, Zixin looked like she was struggling. Clearly she believed him. Although Yi Immortal's words were not an oath, they were more believable. If he swore on his life origin, it would be even more unbelievable. With Yi Immortal's strength, even if he had not reached the origin realm, he would probably be able to resist the backlash of swearing on his life origin. Yi Immortal did not swear on his life origin. He only said that he would never be able to transcend and become an immortal. Ordinary people would not dare to say something like that. Although it was not an oath, it was better than an oath. This was because there was a feeling in the unseen world. Especially when it was related to transcendence and the immortal Tao. If he said something like that, it might come true. Those who wanted to become an immortal would not dare to say something like that. He did not take action because he wanted to sit on the sidelines and watch the tigers fight. He wanted to let Lu Ming and the others fight to the death. Initially he thought that Lu Ming would definitely die. Therefore he did not take action. They did not want to see Lu Ming escape. Now that Lu Ming had broken out of the encirclement and was about to escape, they could not sit still anymore. Prince Kanglo and the other prince turned into two streaks of light and charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, this is all I can do for you. You will have to rely on yourself from now on. Princess Zhangxian whispered. Then there was a flash of light and she disappeared. Two more experts from the Zhangming tribe are here. Lu Ming's expression changed. He wanted to continue attacking Yi Immortal and take this opportunity to get rid of him. However, there was no time left. Yuan Wuji, Yuan Liuji, Gaishak, and Lord of the Underworld were charging towards him. Together with the two experts from the Zhangming tribe, he would not be able to escape if he was surrounded again. Not to mention, the creatures of the three Forbidden Grounds had many terrifying combined formations. Previously, these combined formations were far away and they felt that the invincible Divine Masters were more than enough to deal with Lu Ming. Therefore they did not come in time. Now, they were rushing over with all their might and could not afford any delay. Let's go. Lu Ming and the other two did not continue attacking Yi Immortal. Instead, they dashed into the distance like three streaks of lightning. Go after them. Don't even think about escaping. Yuan Wuji and Gaishak roared as they chased after Lu Ming and the others. The Primordial Light tribe and the Eveline tribe were good at speed. The four of them were astonishingly fast and they gradually closed the distance between them and Lu Ming and the others. In fact, Lu Ming was not slow. However, Zixian was even faster. She flapped her ancient demon wings and traveled thousands of miles in an instant. She was even faster than Lu Ming. However, Gu Changfeng was slightly slower. Therefore, the distance between them and Yuan Wuji and the others was closing. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.